Good morning, everybody. Well, let's get a few people on. Connecting now. It seems like we just did this. Feels like I closed last night and then I had to open this morning. The hell. All right, let's go ahead and get it started.
Do you want the truth? Are you tired of being so confused? You feel like you're more f***ed up than the lies on the evening news. Well, just step right in. We can talk about it all as friends. And if you want, we can hug and kiss and make up for the party ends. Agree or disagree.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Morning Jitter Juice. Get your coffee. I'm already on my fifth cup. Now, I had to stray from the Don't Unfriend Me brand. And my wife was in Leesburg the other day, and she stopped by First Watch. If you haven't been to First Watch, amazing breakfast. I mean, it's expensive. There's no doubt. I mean, it's probably $15, $17 a person for breakfast. But that's after you get your glass of OJ, you get your carafe of coffee, you know, you get your frilly Cinnabon and omelet and pancakes and bacon and sausage and ham. No, nobody eats that much. But when I go, listen, when I eat for lunch, I don't eat lunch. I haven't eaten lunch in years. I just don't do it. I just don't. I eat breakfast and I eat dinner. And then I have some snacks at night, but I don't eat lunch. And what? Good morning. Good. Yennefer. Hold on. Mom's not here, Yenny. Yenny, where are you going? She came in here and she's like, "Oh, well, there's talking in the studio." She thinks Mom's in here, so she's gonna cry for the better part of a day unless I plug her in regards to crying for Mom. This happens every morning. So when I'm doing my recorded show, I have to lock the door. But then she literally climbs the French glass doors to try to get in to see if Mom's in here, and then everyone goes, "Why do you call, or why do you speak in the third person about your cat and say Mom?" Because Mom is responsible for, listen, if you don't have kids, if you're not married, Mom is always Mom. My wife turned it, she's not Olivia, she's Mom. And she turned into Mom the moment she had kids because that's literally what we call her every 5 seconds. Mom, where's your mother? Where's Mom? What time's Mom coming home? Where the hell's my shirt? Where's Mom? So when the cat meows, she wants Mom too. So whatever. If you don't like cats, I don't care. With the way people were last night, you don't like Jews either. I mean, geez, talk about a crazy. Get these nutbag freaking they're stalkers. I talk about Nick Fuentes, you know, the neo-Nazi fascist douche plow. And my Lord, I mean, they just come out of the woodwork. How dare you talk about our leader, our Fuhrer? How do they find us? I mean, they haven't been around the show in a long time. I mean, unless they're checking every time we come on. Is he talking about Nick Fuentes? Is he talking about Nick? If he's talking about Nick, we've got to take care of it. Because they give him feelings. Nick Fuentes gives these guys feelings, the little soy boys, and it's
you make me happy.
They make him happy. They make them happy. Listen, they haven't had a leader since Hitler offed himself with Eva Braun. I mean, their last leader ate a bullet. They've been waiting for someone to replace the Fuhrer for quite a long time. So you got to give it to these little neo-Nazis. Now, the left use that term all the time. Oh, Nazis, you know, whatever. No, but these guys are literal Nazis. These guys hate Jews. And it's not like, oh, we don't like them because of their religion. No, they've got money. We don't like them. And that's the way these guys are. Shh. Don't play the music. We're not playing music right now. So that's what they are. And that's what they think. It's pathetic. These guys are absolutely pathetic. But anyway, they were here last night. They decided to make an appearance. And of course, you know, I'm acquiesced to that request. I want to encourage them to stop by and for once actually log on and have a conversation. Because I'd like to hear the refreshing things of why throwing 6 million people in incinerators and gassing them was effective and a positive way to influence change in your country. I'd love to hear that. And if these guys would just be real, if they would just be honest with who they were, and if they would just call in and say, listen, I think every Jew should be exterminated and eradicated from the planet, I would at least have respect for them that they actually have the balls to say something. It's interesting. Last night, I'll share something with you. I was perusing Instagram because let's face it, if there's a channel that I can't grow on, it's Instagram. Now, which is interesting because since it's a meta platform, you think it would just crush because of Facebook, but it's not the way it works. Instagram and Facebook are completely ancillary from each other, are insulated from each other for some reason. I have no idea why. But I think I've got like 719 Instagram followers, and it's growing every day. A couple here, a couple there, and people are interacting at quite a higher clip than they used to. But the interesting thing is I was looking through, I don't know if you guys know this guy. And I happen to love him. His name's Dominic Izzo. And I've watched him for quite some time. Has anybody watched this guy? Please let me know. And I know I've got a ton of people on. Well, not a ton of people, but I've got a lot of people talking. But do you know Dominic Izzo? Yeah, Amy, I'm going to play the All Lives Matter, Our Lives Matter 2.0 video as well. But first, do you know who Dominic Izzo is? Has anyone had a chance to hear this guy? And I'll be honest. I like him. I'm not putting in my username and password online. Are you kidding me? Here, let me move this over here. Jeez. What do you think I am, Instagram? Let's just let's log in here. Come on now. This shows you how much I go on Instagram. Oh Lord, come on. And also weird is that I can get a blue check mark on Instagram, but I can't get a blue check mark on Facebook. Go figure. I mean, it's once they put me in that proverbial timeout, I've never gotten out. So if you haven't watched Dominic Izzo, let me give you my rundown on Dominic. Dominic is for a very well dressed. Like when he's off the clock and he's not punched the clock, he looks a lot like me. T-shirt, beard, you know, lifts weights. But this guy pushes weight that I can't lift. Not with my back. I can't possibly do what he does. The guy's just too strong. But he pushes weight and does a good job. And he works out. He works out hard, and he's passionate. And he honestly uses his weights as a pugilist would use punji sticks. He goes and he beats himself into submission and gets his anger and frustration out on pushing probably 90,000 pounds a session. I push about 60, 65, not even close to what this guy does. He does an incredible amount of weight, but it doesn't matter. But the whole point, or pulling, or stabilizing, however you want to talk about it. So this guy has an opinion. And I'll be honest with you, I find myself not agreeing with everything he has to say. And there are times when I'm like, dude, he's really brash. But he has no problem saying it. Now, there was a post that I found pretty funny, which was showing a graph of Dominic's followers count. Now, you guys know I follow Ryan Weaver, and I adore Ryan Weaver. Well, he experiences the same thing. Anytime Ryan makes any move in Instagram that's to the positive, Instagram throttles him and takes away. Like this guy gains 300 followers and 300 followers leave. It's very similar to what Twitter does. The only company that I have seen that doesn't do that is honestly Facebook. Facebook does not give you followers and then take them away and give you bots to keep you engaged. Or if you pay for an advertising slot, they stay consistent and they continue. They don't maybe engage as much as Twitter or Instagram or Rumble, but you get your followers and you get to keep them, but they don't engage as much on Facebook. Now, On Twitter, they give them to you and then they take them away. Because I've lost like 500 followers on Twitter, even though my interactions are in the hundreds of thousands, which is ridiculous. But he makes a good point. Anytime I criticize Trump, you can see his unfollows take a hit. And I got to say, the same thing happens for me, is that if I'm showing a Trump video, people are all over it. But if I go ahead and start saying some things and critiquing Donald Trump, my show takes a hit and it'll just tank. And it's an interesting perspective. So when I approached him, and Dominic knows Matt Couch, this guy is involved. I mean, he's probably not a high level player. He's right up there with the Hodge twins. He's right up there with Ryan Weaver. He's Matt Couch. He's a mid-level player, but he's got a ton of good shows and quality content. He's a little abrasive, and he definitely was me in the early days. Cuss this, cuss that. More like my live shows where I'll drop bombs all the time. But everything he says makes sense. He doesn't want kids. He doesn't want a family. He comes after Christians a little bit and says that Christians are some of the most judgmental and hateful people at times. And it's hard for me to disagree with some of his points. It doesn't mean that I believe them to a point where I will start, carrying that water for him. But he's not wrong. And it doesn't mean all Christians. Like today, there was an example on the Facebook page. Amy saw it, where I said, Biden's approval numbers on all key issues are in the toilet. I mean, 44 point swings from where he was when he first entered office. And somebody said, good, maybe he'll, go over to Israel and, get, what? I'm not going to say it. I don't want the Secret Service on my ass. And that's not very Christian-like, right? You're hoping for the demise of a president of the United States. That's pretty bad. And anyone who's lived through it, anybody who remembers Kennedy, living through Kennedy, if anyone remembers what happened with Reagan and the fear and trepidation that created for our country, the unease, knows that having a president die in office is horrible, stupid. So nobody should wish for that. I don't care how much you think you hate Joe Biden. You don't know anything fucking about Joe Biden. You know what? Listen, they made George Bush Jr. look like a flopping idiot. They cut every single soundbite just the way they wanted. And trust me when I say this, George Bush Jr. is not a freaking idiot. He's not an idiot. But they, like Dan Silva said, Dan Silva is driving down in his car down the street, and he's filming Fahrenheit 9/11. The one that contradicted Michael Moore, whatever it was. And Dan Silva was in Time Cop. He was in West Wing. He was like in year 4 for the Bartlett administration. He was the campaign manager. And anyway, Dan Silva was an immense, fierce Republican, conservative. And he's driving down the road, and he's, they're filming, and he's just talking, and he's ad-libbing, and they look at him and they say, hey, Michael Moore. And he's like, Michael Moore is a fat effing putz, And he says, but the thing about Michael Moore is that if I have enough content and hours of footage of him, I can make him look like the most conservative neo-Nazi fascist who's anorexic with good hygiene. With enough footage, something to that effect. And his point is that George Bush was on camera 16 to 18 hours a day. And of course, the media cuts the most inopportune moments. Like, we could make a reel of Joe Biden's presidency with all of his falls and stumbles and nothing else. And that would be enough to show people that he's an unstable clown. And that is what you see on Fox News and other media stations, is only the worst of Biden. And then, of course, CNN and MSNBC only put on the best of Biden, which they're few and far between. But when you recycle and regurgitate one clip all day long for a 24 hours news cycle, people start to believe that that Joe Biden is this omnipotent leader who the world admires, and on Fox News we see him as Barnum and Bailey's, clown. And somewhere in between is the truth. Somewhere in between is the truth. So if you think George Bush is a bloomin' idiot, well, go look at his approval numbers. You guys realize that George Bush Jr. is one of the most popular ex-presidents outside of Barack Obama who's still alive? Yeah. I mean, and not like you have a field that's so strong with Jimmy effing Carter out there, who's literally one leg in the freaking grave. May God rest his soul when that day happens, whatever. Not a big Carter fan. But if you look at the presidents who are alive, the popularity rating of George Bush Jr. among the neocons and the uniparty is ridiculous. Friends with Barack Obama and Michelle Obama at Martha's Vineyard. I mean, listen, anyone who believes there wasn't a uniparty, when you see the way George Bush Jr. has been treated, and a lot of people consider him to be a war criminal and all this other stuff. And remember all this stuff that came out, war criminal, he's going to face tribunals. They hated his ass. They absolutely hated him. Called him the dumbest president in the world, blamed 9/11 on him. It was an inside job. The media hated him, left hated him, right hated him, neocons hated him. And now he's like, oh, look at his paintings. It's like Hunter. I don't understand what's going on. Why are these failed people, why do they always go and paint? Freaking liberal arts degrees. So George Bush Jr. is now heralded as, this amazing person who deserves love, who had an amazing presidency, which baffles me. But they made him look like an idiot. They did the same thing with Mitt Romney. And then there's people in politics who help this process by just opening their mouth, like Sarah Palin, right? How easy is it? She's low-hanging fruit. Sarah Palin's easy. They had her railed in. If you watch the first debate, she did a great job because they literally filled her up full of tranquilizers and grilled her for like 72 hours straight and put her in a padded room with nothing but people hitting her with debate questions. But then when the second debate happened, her wheels fell completely off. And then when she got out alone with the press, it was like, it was one gaffe after another. But if you look at these people, they're shown in a different way. They're shown in a different light than who they really are. And the one thing I like about Dominic, going back to him, is that he calls out balls and strikes. You may not agree with him. You may not like what he has to say, but overall, he calls out balls and strikes. So if you haven't watched him, go watch him. You can find him over on Instagram. I know he's on Twitter. I know he's on others. Give him a shout out. Say hello. Here's one of his videos. Now this is one that might draw up a little bit of animosity.
Claims that Bill Clinton raped her many years ago and is an influencer of the conservative movement, wrote this tweet on George Floyd's birthday. My sentiments on George Floyd's birthday. I hope the sorry SOB rots in hell. Listen, I don't give a shit what your opinion is on George Floyd. I don't care. I don't care if you think he was the most evil person alive. I'm going to tell you flat out, in my opinion, I'm not above George Floyd. I'm a piece of shit, fucking filthy sinner who has done some horrible, horrible, horrible things in my life, and my sins are not worse than George Floyd's. I don't care what he's fucking done. This seems to be Christianity lately. I don't understand it. I will never be, and I don't know what Broderick's faith is, but I know that a lot of people who follow her are Christians, and they will comment in the comment section of her post about how much they agree with this. And over the last several years, you've seen Christians incessantly comment. They will throw around scripture in a holier-than-thou attitude, and with the typical, I'll pray for you, brother or sister in Christ, and then they will wind up saying, I just don't want you to burn in hell. And they're assholes, they're condescending assholes when they do it. Point is this. If you're a Christian, and this is your viewpoint on somebody like George Floyd, you're not a Christian. And understand something. I'm not a Christian. I went from Catholicism, Italian Roman Catholic, to Christianity, to now I'm denouncing my connection to the Christian faith because of how unbelievable hypocrites they all are. I'm a Christ follower. I believe that Jesus Christ, Yeshua, is the only way to get to the Father. He is a true and the true living God. He is King. He rose from the dead. I'm proclaiming that. But how the fuck as Christians can we sit there and write content like this and expect us to be better or righteous? We're not. And in a time where you have this Israeli-Palestinian war going on, and so many of you are condemning the rhetoric that's coming out of Palestine for what they're calling to do to America, American women, children, how the fuck are you ever better than them when you're wishing that the people you hate, which you were commanded to love, burn in hell? Holy shit, I don't get this. I'll never...
See, Phyllis makes a point. So Phyllis says he shouldn't worry about what other Christians are doing, but worry about his own soul. Not necessarily. I disagree. If our job as Christians is to spread the word of Christ and to bring the Christian religion to people who don't have that influence in their life, who don't have that ability to understand and experience Jesus in the way that we have. So ultimately, we are the ambassadors of our Savior for other people who need that influence. Then I completely disagree about worrying about yourself. Ever. And if you have to spread the word of God and you have to bring the word of God to people who do not have his grace, then you can't say that Dominic Izzo should not focus on other Christians and how they behave, because that is a direct reflection of him. And if Christians are condemning and wishing for the death of Joe Biden, which I saw today multiple times, if you have Christians who are saying Jews are not worthy of Christian love because they don't even believe in Christ, if you're saying that Palestinians need to die because they're heathens and they believe in Allah, these are the things I've seen from Christians. So if we can't reflect on our own faith and reflect on how we show up, then we shouldn't spread the word of God, because we are not good ambassadors for that. Now, it doesn't mean everybody who's in this chat, it doesn't mean everyone who might agree or disagree. And just because Phyllis has a different opinion, that doesn't mean that she's not a good Christian. She's challenging Dominic's thought process. And you know what? If Dominic was here, I promise you know what Dominic would say? I agree. I agree because you get to have an opinion. And I want to hear your opinion. And I want you to challenge me. So there's nothing wrong with that, Phyllis. Should he worry about himself? I disagree with you. But that doesn't mean that you're wrong. It just means that I have a different outlook, that if we are supposed to bring the word of God to people who do not have him in his life, in their lives, then we need to at least be as reflective on our own way that we show up and do represent God. And although we can never be godly and we could never be omnipotent, and we're not going to walk down Mount Sinai with tablets, and we're not prophets, we could at least be good representatives of the message. And what Dominic is saying with a tirade of cursing, I completely understand. Makes a lot of sense. No, hold on a second. Let me read this. It says, but he's denounced Christianity because of the manners of others then. He is never a true Christian, in my opinion. See, let me ask you a question. Phyllis, that's a good point. So I didn't hear him denounce Christianity. I heard him say that there is a very big difference in today's world, even though there shouldn't be, between Catholics and Christians, even though Catholics are considered to be a part of the Christian faith. I think a lot of people have realized that Catholics have kind of went to the far end of the Old Testament and kind of crossed the lines between pomp and circumstance and false idols, and moved into an area that is counterintuitive to the teachings of Christ, surrounding themselves with gold cups, robes flowed with gold lace trimmings, beautiful cathedrals that are worth millions and millions of dollars, the wafer, the blood of Christ, the confession. All of these things Christians look at. I mean, everyday Christians, predominantly in the United States, look at these things and go, I don't know if I agree with that. I don't know if this is something I agree with. And then you look at the Mars of the Vatican and the history and the things that the Catholic Church has done in the name of Christ are, no offense, and pardon my language, and I don't want to lose anybody, are fucking appalling. Appalling. From excommunication, from destroying people's lives after divorce, for publicly shaming for abortions, which I'm not saying I agree with, but I don't know if you need to take Betty Sue, who put $10 in the plate every week, and embarrass her because she got knocked up, and try to destroy her life without putting your arms around her, putting her in the booth, and trying to absolve her for that sin and help her cope. I don't know if public shaming in front of everyone in the church and excommunicating her is the right choice. Sorry. I don't know if promoting slavery was okay. I don't think that was okay. I don't think covering up pedophilia in the church was okay either. So there's some things with the Catholic religion that the organized religion, not God, not Jesus, not the Virgin Mary, not the apostles, not the story, but the theatrics that took place in the Catholic Church make me question some things, okay? And if it doesn't make you question some things, well, then you're probably the person that thinks that Donald Trump also walks on water. Dare I say. Maybe this morning, this Jitter juice is a little strong this morning. Maybe I put a little bit of whiskey in it. I don't know. Maybe Dominic's got me fired up. I'll tell you why he's got me. I'll tell you why I'm talking about this guy, because I need your help. I need you to help me make a decision. So here it is. I don't think it's anyone's place to judge other Christians. And Phyllis, he is judging people who are judging him. He is judging people who are judging people's support for George Floyd. He is judging people. So that's fine. But Phyllis, you're also judging him. See, it's an enigma wrapped in a riddle. The only person not judging anybody is me. I'm not judging Phyllis. I'm not judging Dominic. I'm not judging anybody. I'm simply telling you what I think. I think he's onto something. I think Christianity has become kind of taboo, and especially in the eyes of young people, because of its moral inflexibility, but being morally flexible at the same time. Where they say, free speech for thee, or free speech for me, but not for thee. Well, Christianity's teachings and follow the rules of God for you, but not for me. That is a dangerous thing. And kings and queens, dukes and duchesses, prince and princesses, baron lords have acted on the same patents of nobility all the way back to Charlemagne to usurp power from people. And the organized religion is no different. It's no different. The biggest lie ever sold to man is that you need to go into a wooden cathedral, a stone cathedral, an ivory tabernacle, and confess your sins or pray on your sins in that location. And after you leave and you douse yourself in holy water, or you light a candle, or you go ahead and you tie the piece of lace around your Bible, whatever it is you do, make sure you go ahead and reach deep into your pockets and throw some money to the church while you're at it, because there is no closer place to God than right here and right here and right here. That's it. This is your cathedral. These hands, this heart, this mind will help you uncover your soul. That's it. You don't need the church to do that. Now, if you want to go to the church and do that, that's completely acceptable and a great place to come together and study the Word of God and celebrate his life, celebrate his sacrifice, and celebrate the things that he has brought into your life. Great. Because church is a great thing. But being forced to go is not. And for you to say to somebody, because you don't have the moxie to simply say, hey, go F yourself, you say, I'll pray for you. There is nothing worse. If you want me to completely just jump out of my skin and just scream to the top of my lungs, tell me, I'll pray for you. No, you won't. And that's on you. Because you're not going to pray for me. And you saying you're going to pray for me, but you won't. And that's the problem. And maybe that prayer could help me understand and see something. Maybe that prayer would bring his divinity in my life at a more rapid pace. I don't know. Maybe it has no bearing whatsoever and God stopped listening a long time ago. But when you say, I'll pray for you and you weren't, you are breaking one of the sins. You're breaking one of the commandments and you're lying. So in order for you to dive into pride and to have that deadly sin and then couple it with a lie in the name of God, in my opinion, that's going to do a heck of a lot more to you than anything I ever did that got you to say that. Because you're using the Lord's name in vain. You're invoking his name. You're saying you're going to pray for me. You aren't going to pray for me. You're really telling me to go fuck myself. And I think Dominic has a point. Now, he may not deliver the point as eloquently as I can, or maybe it's even better because he can say things in 10 seconds that are more palpable. And although what I say might be more cathartic, and it's a softer way to say it that really focuses on everybody's side so everyone feels good about my message, this guy, he just says it. And he doesn't give a shit whether you like it or not. There's something admirable about that quality. And I think he does it just fine here. I don't think he's denouncing Christianity. I think he's denouncing people who are false prophets or falsely trying to spread the word of the Lord through their own benefit and not his. That's what he's calling out. And this is why I've been disenfranchised from organized religion since the 700 Club. Do you know, willingly, I woke up every single morning at 6 a.m. before school and I watched the 700 Club. We're talking like 6, 7 years old. I would turn that old RCA rabbit ear TVs and I'd watch the 700 Club every single morning. And nobody knew the wiser. I had a little TV in my room. My grandmother, when she passed, left it to me. And I put it on an old Sears small Frigidaire box. And I put a blanket over it. And I set the TV right on top. It's at the end of my bed. And every morning I'd wake up and I'd turn it on and I would watch the 700 Club. My family wasn't very religious. We didn't go to church. There's a lot of history here. But I enjoyed it. And I enjoyed the morning prayer and I enjoyed the stories and how Betty Sue would come and talk about her oatmeal cookies. And Pat Robertson would hold everybody's hands. And there was something special about it. I don't know. It was just interesting to me. And I was so enthralled with not the word of God, but just the feeling of peace and community that came from that, from a kid who was horribly lost. For a kid that was picked on incessantly at school and couldn't find his way, the 700 Club helped me understand what unity and community felt like. I didn't have to hear my mom and dad scream at each other and call each other every name in the book. I got to see people who actually cared about each other and closed their eyes and prayed to something that was more important than the mortal coil and the things that surrounded them. There was something very special about it. And then it all fell apart. And the scandals in the church with Tammy Faye Baker, Jim and Tammy Faye Baker took place. And the stealing of money from parishioners. An SNL scandal. And it was all over the place. And it was taken from me. And then my faith in God, we've talked about, and how that's been challenged, was taken from me. And I allowed it to leave. So if we think that just because we believe in God, that everything's going to be okay, it's not. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. We would be with him. Isn't that fair to say? If everything was going to be okay and everything was going to be all right and we were going to be protected and nothing bad is going to happen to us because of our faith in God, well, that sounds like heaven to me. That doesn't sound like earth. It doesn't sound like terra firma to me. That sounds like paradise. You mean I can wake up every single morning and not watch my kids walk to the bus from my window the moment their finger touches that door and just pray to God that although I'm so close, if somebody comes in and wants to harm them, I will be too far away? Does that sound like heaven to you? Do I have to worry about how I'm going to pay my taxes? And if that means that the IRS is going to come storm my door and take my house from me if I don't? Does that mean what happens when the other shoe drops and these creditors start calling and actually demanding the things that you're delinquent on over COVID and you still are not above water? What happens when the hospitals call and start demanding payment on the quality of life that they gave back to you when COVID took place, or maybe you spent 5 or 6 days in the hospital? What happens? What happens when your best friend leaves for 30 years and that person leaves this planet and goes on to something else and you're left alone and you've been married to that person for 50 years? What happens when fentanyl or drugs take your loved one and now you have to somehow fend for yourself and you throw yourself into your work and you throw yourself into a low-level podcast to try to distract yourself from every day realizing how alone you are? Love you, Amy. What do? Well, most people on this planet, 93% of them used to look to God. And now that number's down to 87%. And it's dropping every single year. And in the next 30 years, they're saying Christianity will essentially be absolved, that it will reach a number of less than half of people will look to the Lord for guidance. That doesn't sound like paradise to me. That doesn't sound like anything other than the absence of God from our lives. It's not heaven. You would feel all of his splendor and all of his grace. So if you're that type of person that believes that all I have to do is pray and everything's going to be okay, the numbers are in, and that's not true. There's more to it than that. It's not necessarily what happens to you, it's how you react to it. And if you're that type of person that condemns other people for their lack of faith, if you're the type of person who condemns other people for questioning their faith, if you're the type of person that questions people on how they celebrate their faith, dare I say you're doing it wrong. But that's just my opinion. And everyone's entitled to theirs. We'll get into some questions. I want to listen to the rest of this.
Forget this. This is why I have no time, focus, or energy for religion whatsoever. And not to mention the fact this is just fucking vile. The man is dead. He paid his dues. He lived his life. And I can guarantee you, you're just as fucking shitty as a human being as George Floyd was. Maybe it's time for you pray for your enemy, because we're praying for you. Hi, I'm Dominic Izzo, host of the Rants of Izzo show here at Spreely Media. Be sure to join me live every Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern.
Dominic Izzo. So I ran across Dominic's page.
Hey, I'll do a public disclaimer, and
I ran across his page. I don't know. It must have been I don't know, back in May, I think. And he shared one of my posts to a story. And I always am amazed when people do that, right? I mean, the guy's got 60K followers. That's close to 150,000 to 200,000 on Facebook. Instagram followers are much more selective. So he's got a good following, a really good following. And I listened to him talk. And the first time I heard him, I'm like, oh, this guy's just a talking head who's vulgar. You know, it doesn't bother me at all. I love it. But, you know, whatever. I'm more into Jordan Peterson. I like the occasional Shapiro. I like listening to Matt Walsh. I like listening to Crowder. I like listening to Couch. Prosobic. I think is his last name, Jack Prosobic. I listen to, you know, Ashley St. Clair. These are the people who I tend to follow and listen to, a wide eclectic variety of people. But something about his posts kept making me come back. And I kept listening. And after some time, it wasn't what he was saying. It was about what he was allowing other people to say. Now listen to my point here. It wasn't what he was saying. It was his reaction to how he allowed other people to talk. So I started watching some of his interactions with other people. And he always ends things with like, hey man, I might be full of shit. What do you think? And no matter what was said, he would fight fervently. He would argue his points, but he always wound up respecting what the other person was saying in the end. To me, that's an admirable quality. It's something that I've always tried to do on this show. There's only one person ever who was called in here and left in tatters, who I just didn't care. I tend to bring people in. I fight fervently, passionately. I will take them around the barn, but in the end, my job is to leave them better than I found them. So I will always thank them. I will always tell them how much I appreciate them. I will try to point out something good that they brought to the conversation and then pop smoke and hopefully we leave amicably. If we don't, well, then that's not that big of a deal either. But I do my best. That's the one thing I like about Dominic. I also like that he's a truth teller. Now here's the situation. I'm not going to go into a bunch of details and because none of this is, it's just a fart in the wind at this point. But I've got a choice to make. And I figured I would bring it in this way because I thought this was the best way to balance some things. By the way, you can follow Dominic at Dominic Izzo on Instagram and other social media, or you can find him at Spreely TV. Now, I had a chance to go to Spreely TV last night and look. They're an up-and-coming Apple TV, Roku, and Fire Stick channel that have a ton of American First podcasts, but also some other interesting podcasts that aren't necessarily. It's an amalgamation of different shows, and I think you'll enjoy it. So go over there and take a look because I downloaded it last night, and Olivia and I spent about an hour after watching the Stros completely tank, and it was an interesting find. Dominic's shows are on there. There's plenty of other people on there that you can watch and peruse around. But at some point, I'm going to have to make a decision where realizing that, yes, YouTube is not growing as fast as it should because I've been banned 3 times from YouTube for nothing. You know, I feel like Shawshank Redemption. You know, when Red's like, "Hey, what did you do to get in here?" Lawyer fucked me. Hold on a second. Oh, it's Chris Christie. I'm not going to answer. You know what? I'm going to answer because he didn't say anything. Yeah, it's going to be the New Jersey waffle. You got to get on video, bro. I'm not going to let you in. I'm not letting you in on audio. You got to get it on video. Nah, he left. All right, we'll see if he calls back. But I've got a decision to make. Is that there's a couple parameters that I wanted when I created this show. The first thing, hands down, was I was always going to be genuine to who I am. And I was never going to kowtow and browbeat and toe the line and carry the water for anyone else or beat myself up for it. I was always just going to be who I am. I would be that guy who occasionally drops some bombs and cusses. I'd be that guy who can be foul-mouthed, who can be grumpy, who can be angry, who can take the fight right to people in their face. I was going to be unapologetically honest. And I believe I've done that. There are times where I've towed the line and skirted the line. I'm not going to lie. There's times I have. And although my feelings might be one thing, I toe the line a little bit because I want to create conversation. And a lot of that falls around Donald Trump, to be honest with you. Like, I want to be more honest than I am with Trump sometimes, but I find myself stopping because I know it'll hurt viewers. And you know, I gotta still grow. So there's times where I've pulled back and I haven't given my honest opinion sometimes. There are other times where I feel like I could have defended him more and I didn't because I wanted to try to play middle of the road more than I should have. That's self-reflection. But for the most part, especially when it comes to military analysis, geopolitical analysis, overall politics, elections, I feel I have been spot on to the T, dialed in, over target, zeroed in 100% of the time. I really do. That's my own critique. But when it comes to the personal politics, there are times where I've fallen off or I've wavered. But I'm going to have to make a decision here. And I want your feedback. Because what I don't ever want to do is when I go to syndication or I start flirting around with bringing people into this fold who are going to help expand the show to a broader, more established, consistent audience. Is now the time. Because I can look at where the show's at on YouTube and go, meh. I can look on Spotify and I can look on podcasts and I can say, well, we're ranked top 5% in the world. Very successful on our podcast and video. And I know that bringing in Mike, who I'm going to call right after this show and bring him in, is going to be a huge lift to the show, especially the morning show, because Mike is going to bring a ton of knowledge. Plus, he's a vet, he's a Marine. Him and I are going to go back and forth and trade barbs but also give you some pretty solid analysis. And I think that's going to elevate the show in the morning. But I need to make a decision if I want to expand this show into syndication, because that is where it's headed. Facebook, although live, like right now, for example, it's early morning. We have 76 people on. Allergies. That's not unheard of. Israel's kind of winding down. Nothing huge is happening right now, and the whole firestorm that was taking place over the last few, 10 days, 12 days is starting to dwindle a little bit, and so viewership will go down. I don't care about that. That doesn't bother me. What I do care about is that 30,000 people will watch this and interact with this over the next 30 days. What I care about is that I've got 13 million interactions this month. So not everything's going to be a hit. Not everything is going to be a knockout of the park. Not every meme goes viral. And people will challenge you and say, oh, you've got this many people on. Well, you know what? This isn't an established channel. This is a channel that hasn't even impacted less than 0.5% of the United States as far as interactions. It's ridiculous. Nobody knows about this show. People come on and go, I had no idea they've been following me, and all they do is follow my memes. They have no idea I have a recorded show. Facebook limits what's seen, and that's where syndication changes things. You have one place where you can tell people to go and watch the show for free. You can say, hey, go to blah, 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 blah.com where you can pick up this. And then you have those shows that are on there promoting you. I'm promoting them. And you're cross-pollinating and you're overall collaborating to share traffic. But the most important thing to me is that I can do my show the way I want to do it. Now, does that mean that I will not accept criticism? Of course I will. Does that mean I won't accept help to make it better? Of course I will accept help to make it better. But I don't want to become a person who has a script and has to go ahead and say A talking point, B talking point, C talking point, because I will go out of my fucking mind if I have to do that. I will lose my mind. I had to do that in the corporate world. I will never do it again. I will never work in a corporate environment again, come hell or high water. I'm going to be 50 years old in April. The moment I hit 50, I'm looking for what's next. It's no longer punching the clock 9 to 5. I've done that for 30 years. I've made an amazing living, an amazing amount of money doing it. I will never do it again. When I hit 50, I am done with the 9 to 5. It's either going to be this or the next phase. But it will never be talking to somebody who is an owner who is too stupid to realize what they need to do to be successful in this business and not listen to the person who has the experience and not wait for the Novocaine to work, because it's always about traffic. It's always about margin, and it's always about outperforming previous year. That is the key to a successful business. And I can only tell owners that so many times before I literally want to punch myself in the face because they're too stupid to listen to me. So I'm done doing that gig. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing. This is my full-time gig for the first time ever. This is what I'm doing. And after doing my taxes and finalizing and signing my taxes yesterday, I'm good. I may not have health care that we have to pay for out of our pocket. I may not have 401k. My retirement doesn't look as good as I thought it should. But guess what? We're going to be fine. So it's not about money for me. So then the next thing it has to be about is overall growth. Money, growth, and then there's a third, which we'll get to. Is the growth where I want it to be? Yeah, we're going to hit 200,000 followers this year. That is a very good number on Facebook. We're going to be top 2.5% on podcasts in the next 6 months. Rumble is on the precipice of breaking. I'm trying to figure it out. I'm trying to figure out what content they like. They love live content over on my Rumble feed. Sorry for the Rumble people. I can't see it today. Olivia's not here. That's another reason why it's going to be great to have Mike. Rumble's on the precipice of breaking. I see it. So growth. Is growth good? Yes, growth is good. Is growth perfect? No, growth is not perfect. Syndication will help that. But more importantly, what it will create is my ability to get involved in things outside of these four walls. It allows me to go to conferences. It'll probably allow me to go to the RNC. It'll allow me to go to freedom events across the United States and gathering of Republican and conservative minds. It'll allow me to get on the radio. It'll allow me to start interviewing a broad range of people. It'll allow me go to the next phase in this endeavor. And if anyone can tell me why my camera is going from blue to red, I don't know what's happening, but it's an amazing effect, but it's driving me crazy, but it is doing that. It's subtle. Like right now it's going red, and then it's going to slowly go to blue. I don't know why it's doing that, just whatever. So that's the second phase. And the third phase, it doesn't have to be about money, it has to be about growth. But the third phase really and truly is happiness. Will it make me happier to get syndicated and start going on to bigger and better things? And the answer to me is that doesn't matter right now, because this is in the infancy. And it doesn't matter whether it was military service, working with the teams, working in the intel, no matter what I did, I was never good enough until I was. So I had to apply myself to be that way. And whether it was entering in as a host or washing dishes in a restaurant, all the way to running a district or being a regional vice president, whatever it was, I was never good enough until I was. I was never good enough until I was. So my happiness isn't the most important thing. There is a fourth that ties in with happiness, and that's the amount of work that I do. Someone just made a comment and they said, Matt, you do so much already, it'll be too much. Actually, no, it won't. It will simply be me streaming to a platform that moves not away from Facebook, not away from Rumble, still there, still on Instagram, still streaming to all these places. But I would expand into streaming to a larger audience through over the top. So once again, it's a fart in the wind. It's a conversation that came up last night. I'll keep you informed. I've got to think about Leroy. I've got to think about Amy. I've got to think about Mike. I got to think about Olivia. I got to think about the viewers. I got to think about the bottom line. But in my eyes, it's the next progression in this show, and it makes sense to do it. And here's my last thought. There's a reason Dominic and I met. Same reason why Ryan Weaver and I met. Same reason why Eli Crane and I met. Folks, if you realize and just go through your timeline and try to do the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon with your life and look at the chain of events and the key critical moments in your life that ultimately got you where you are today, it is one of the greatest exercises you can possibly do for freeing your mind and understanding that there is purpose to everything you do. And that's what I do often, is connect the dots throughout my life of why did I meet this person and why did I meet this person? One of the most influential people in my life is a kid named Bradley Haig. And Brad and I don't talk much anymore because he's predominantly a Joe Biden fan and Obama guy, and he's a liberal. And I'm a conservative, and we were 12 years apart in our friendship, but he used to work for me. And this kid was super intelligent, and he had to deal with me. He had a father who was just a strict dick, a complete dick, controlling and manipulative. And I can say that, Mr. Haig, because you're a complete cock. And then Brad worked for me. I was very militaristic when I was a manager. I would lean into my people hard. I would chastise them when they were wrong. I would celebrate when they were right. I was a tough boss to work for, but they always followed me wherever I went, and I got to give them credit for that. Brad went to the Denver Institute of Arts or whatever, and he is a graphic designer. He is an artist. He is a director. And the kid was so talented. Well, one day I wanted to learn how to code and do HTML. So he was sitting there and he's like, well, I can build you a site. And I said, fine. So I had never done anything like it in my life. I had never worked on a computer like that. We have, of course, tasked satellites, strike packages, work on communications, work on some of the most advanced computer systems in the world when it came to intelligence and counterintelligence and data analysis and imaging and all of that. But that's not coding. And that's a prescribed, series of steps. I'm not in there building software for satellites. I'm operating it. It's like driving a car. You're not building the car. Much different. So he sat down and he started coding. And I must have watched him for 4 hours. And I watched him write code. And where to put the ampersand TBSP for the space, and where to go ahead and change the font, and where to underline the line, and where to go ahead and put the parameters of the iframe. And I watched all these things that he did. And I learned how to code in 4 hours. And the next day after he built his platform for me, and built it on the web, I went in and I changed it into exactly what I wanted. And I had put a forum on there, PHP BB, I think is what it was, which took some MySQL database creation and some ability to go ahead and take files and drag and then alter the parameters without a GUI interface, a graphic user interface, but actually more of just going into code and changing the width or the color of the forum or having avatars or emojis or thumbs up. All that stuff had to be manually inputted. I learned how to do it, and I taught myself. And then a month and a half later, Brad came in and saw my page and saw the forum I had and said, how in the did you do that? Who did that for you? He said, well, I did it. This is a guy with a 4-year degree, can do amazing things with graphics, has made feature-length films for 40-Hour Film Festival in Colorado and won. And he's asking me how to put up a PHPBB board forum on his webpage. And so I designed it for him. This is how I've always learned. But if it wasn't for Brad, I wouldn't know how to do Photoshop. I wouldn't understand graphic design. I wouldn't know post-video editing. I wouldn't know how to rotoscope and put in effects. I wouldn't know how to make t-shirts. I wouldn't know how to go ahead and create a podcast. I wouldn't know how to do audio recordings. I wouldn't understand how to run audio equipment or video equipment or lighting. I would have no idea how to market. I would have no idea how to make memes and work on Facebook. I would have no idea how to do any of these things if it wasn't for Brad. That simple 4 hours changed my life and put me on a path to understand how to teach myself how to do things at a very fast and effective way. And now there's nothing that I can't figure out when it comes to this world. I run a one-man show. There's nobody here cutting and editing. There's nobody here putting up links. There's nobody here doing any of this. This is all mine. So when people say you do too much work already, yes, I do. And syndicating changes that. Yes, I would still run my own show, but I would probably have a budget. I would have the ability to bring in somebody who could run comms and run visuals for me, where I don't have to change this little graphic right here from Dominic Izzo to the next thing I'm going to talk about by myself. That it can be seamless and I can focus on my transitions and my topics and stay on point rather than going, where somebody else can do it. Maybe it comes down to people doing voiceovers or intros instead of me doing it. Somebody else is doing it. Maybe it's more like a radio show where content is worked with a series of people versus me writing it all myself and somehow trying to stay interesting after 900 shows. Do you understand how difficult it is to be this interesting? I mean, for the love of God, folks, I got to keep you entertained. I got to keep you intrigued. The same guy you've been listening to for 3 years has to keep you coming back. It's not easy. It's never easy. So this is where syndication comes in. This is where bringing other people in to the fold allows me to alter the show into the next phase of progression, which is no longer a single man operation. It allows me to go ahead and expand into a larger network of people, trust in my fellow podcasters who are under the same banner. And we work together to create something that creates a bottom line for the owners that they can monetize, that they can turn into the next Blaze, that they can turn it to the next Daily Wire or whatever else it is. And to me, that's intriguing because I've always enjoyed the ground floor experience. I've always enjoyed creating something from nothing and watching it turn into something large. To me, that's exciting. So that's what I wanted to ask you. That's what I wanted to tell you. I know that seems pretty vague because I haven't gone into specifics, but if you have not done it, do me a favor. Go watch Dominic Izzo at Spreely TV. I think you will enjoy his show. And you don't have to love everything he does, but I will tell you that I want to get the guy on the show. I think he's a huge benefit. And he brings a very interesting perspective to the conversation. So go follow him if you would not mind. Let's get into a couple things real quick. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you. Biden goes to Israel. Appreciate all the comments. Appreciate all the comments. Ton of comments. Holy moly. Great job. All right. Joe Biden goes to Washington or Israel. So you guys remember just a while ago when Joe Biden went to Ukraine and nobody knew why. It was supposedly an unannounced visit, which was announced. We all know it was announced because State Department communicated with Russia and said any incoming attacks inside Ukraine and Kyiv will be considered to be a direct attack on Joe Biden. So they warned Putin and said, hey, Joe Biden's going to be here. And what happened? Well, we got an air raid siren in Kyiv from a military flight, which was 270 some odd miles north. That happens every single day, all day, from like 26 different air bases in Russia, where they're scrambling MiGs up and down, doing sorties, doing reconnaissance missions, or whatever. And they had not heard one of these air sirens in some like 3 weeks. A few of the news reporters are like, I haven't heard anything in 10 days. I've been here 3 weeks. I haven't heard anything in 10 days. And of course, right when Joe Biden is about to make his way from one building to another, an air raid siren goes off. Now, if there was a threat, there's no way in hell that Secret Service is going to allow him to leave, expose himself in the open when there's an air raid siren going. It's just not going to happen. Can you imagine if there was a tornado warning anywhere in the Midwest and Joe Biden was visiting? Would they allow him to go walk outside and walk over to Woolworths and go pick out a snow cone or vanilla ice cream and one of those old vanilla cones, or depending if he's really motivated that day, a waffle cone with a single scoop of Thrifty ice cream, and go and get that during the middle of a tornado warning? No, not a chance. Do you think that inside Washington, D.C., if the hazmat system kicks in and recognizes a foreign substance that is dangerous and locks down ventilation and shuts down the White House, that they're going to allow Joe Biden just to go ahead and walk in the room that ultimately has that alarm? No, they're not. I remember that show on Gretchen Whitmer, Vicky. I remember that show. So all of a sudden, Biden and Zelensky are walking across, and Joe Biden's goose stepping, of course, because he doesn't want to fall, as an air raid siren's going off with absolutely zero threat. None. It later came out that this was, once again, a publicity stunt. Everyone knew it was a publicity stunt. Everyone knew it was complete dog shit. And I asked you to hold and refrain, just like I asked you to do with the Ghost of Kiev. You guys remember the Ghost of Kiev? What did I tell you? I said Ukraine doesn't have an air force that's capable of doing it. There is no Red Baron pilot who's shooting down MiGs wantingly from Ukraine. Their air force is gone. It was wiped out in the first fucking 20 minutes of that strike that Russia did. Whatever they did have was obliterated. Those are the reasons why they were bombing a lot of these areas, was their ability to respond to any type of bomber infiltration or fighter infiltration from Russia. They don't have an air force. So when people were talking about the Ghost of Kyiv, what did I tell you? I said, wait, just listen. This is bullshit. This story's bullshit. When I started hearing the state media stuff, when it even came down to Snake Island, if you remember Snake Island, and I reported the story about the sailors that were wiped out, and they said, you know, frigate one, this is Ukraine, Snake Island, go fuck yourself. Remember that? This huge thing where they stood on their own and then they were murdered by all the Russians. Well, later we found out that a lot of those Russians started showing up on buses, or Ukrainians started showing up on buses, and they had photographs of some of the people that they were saying were proclaimed dead. Well, Zelensky came out and said, "Oh, you know, this we did not know. We found them alive. We're so thankful, and we give us some more money." And I had to come back, and the only time I've ever had to retract anything I've ever said on this show was that day. And I apologized. Everyone's like, dude, you don't need to apologize. That's what everyone was saying. You know what? It doesn't matter. I should have waited. I should have done the 24-hour rule. When it came to the Maui fires, what did I do? 24-hour rule. And I told you guys are all talking about space lasers and all this shit, and the fires were set, you know, and I told you, stop. Just wait. Same thing with the attack in Israel. Told you to wait. Palestine, Ohio. When they said it was a terrorist attack, I said, just hold on. Just wait. Just listen. This is going to be a government fuck up. It always is. Some jackass is going to come from the freaking local city council and say, well, we lit the fire because we felt that the liquid would be more damaging than putting it into the troposphere and the atmosphere. So we lit it on fire. What did we find out? That's exactly what happened. When you told me that Gretchen Whitmer was going to get voted out, when you told me that Stacey Abrams was going to win Georgia, when you told me Carrie Lake had a chance in Arizona, when you told me that Majewski in Ohio wasn't a stolen Fowler douchebag, and I told you he was, when I told you that there was no way Mohammed Oz was ever going to fucking beat Fetterman fucking Lurch, pardon the French, I told you there is no chance Mohammed Oz is going to win, and he didn't. He got slaughtered. When you guys told me that that Herschel Walker was a great choice for Georgia, and I told you he didn't have a snowball's chance in hell, he didn't. You got to wait. You got to slow down. You got to stop. You got to stop trying to be first in everything, folks. There's no reason. I would rather be right than be first. And that's also been my adage. I'm not going to report on something and tell you, oh. So when I heard Biden was going to Israel yesterday, I didn't respond. And I thought about it. And I got some freaking shower door time. Okay? I got some toilet time. I used to have windshield time when I drove everywhere. Some of the best time was driving between store and store, and I would get windshield time to think about things. I don't get windshield time anymore. I get toilet time and I get shower door time. So in shower door and toilet time, I think about these things. And what did I think about Biden going to Israel? I think this is a very good opportunity in a place that is 10 times more likely to have some sort of strike happen, because Hamas does not like the United States. Iran does not like the United States. Syria and the IRGC do not like the United States. The Islamic Brotherhood does not like Joe Biden and the United States. The Islamic Jihad does not like Joe Biden and the United States. And we can even get into the Sunnis and the Shias. And we can go into all sorts of groups that don't like the United States. And if you think that it's safe for Joe Biden to go into Israel, you got another thing coming. Now, of course, the State Department is going to reach out to Hamas leadership. It's going to reach out to Hezbollah. It's going to reach out to Lebanon. It's going to reach out to the Shah and the Ayatollah and the clerics. It's going to reach out to the generals of the IRGC. But that doesn't mean that people won't listen. These groups of people are fucking terrorists. What's more terrifying than a U.S. president falling in Israel? So am I worried about that? No, absolutely not. Because in order to target Joe Biden in Israel, the weapon systems that you would need, nobody possesses but Israel. Okay? So, no, I am not afraid for Joe Biden. And they're not going to put him in a situation where a sniper shot's going to take care of him. Secret Service will protect him. He'll be fine. But here's the thing. I guarantee you something is going to happen that makes national news. And it's going to be very similar to what happened in Ukraine. Maybe an air raid siren. Maybe the Iron Dome will fire off while Joe Biden's there. Maybe a couple rockets will come in from southern Lebanon, which will justify us going into Lebanon. Maybe IRGC will fire off in West Bank. Maybe Egypt will pull something crafty in the southern border. Something or something of merit will take place because Joe Biden's numbers are fucking abysmal. They just came out. He's showing 44-point deficits from where he was when he first took office on things that are important: the economy, crime, dollar valuation, Ukraine, anything post-COVID. I mean, he's getting slaughtered. And I promise you, this is we got off the plane and we were under sniper fire, Hillary Clinton style. There will be something that takes place that will aid Joe Biden's image as the rogue, maverick, tough wartime president like they tried in Ukraine. Because if you remember when that happened, look it up. Look it up. Tell me when it happened. See if anyone remembers. Here, I'll look it up for you while you remember. Joe Biden air raid Ukraine. Here's the video.
What you're seeing today is a welder upskilling their career through immersive.
Stop playing commercials.
You probably know.
So wait for this commercial to go by. So we all remember that. We all remember that. And everyone here knows that it was completely staged. It was completely staged. So here's what I'm imagining. Something like this. Secret Service brings them into, maybe they go to Al-Aqsa. Maybe they go to a prestigious mosque that a peace treaty was signed between X and Y. Maybe they go to one of the places that was hit by missiles, something, anything. And Joe Biden gets up on the makeshift podium. Matt, what are your thoughts on Turkey supporting Hamas? Not hummus, Hamas. They should. It's their people. There's no such thing as Palestinians. They're gypsies. They're nomads. They're Muslims from other countries. They are from Turkey. They're from Morocco. They're from Pakistan. They're an amalgamation of people who Arabs placed in a spot that was exodus from the Jews being forced out. 1830 was sold by Arabs to Jews. The Ottoman Empire sold it. When the Roman Empire came in and the Romans came in, they renamed Syria Palestina and split Syria and supposed Palestine. The name Palestine came about. The Romans are the ones that forced the Jews out. Palestine, West Bank, Gaza is simply an amalgamation of Jews, of Arabs that fled their own countries and is a melting pot on that soil. That land is owned by the Jews. Period. Period. So, of course, Turkey backs them up because it's their people. It's where they came from. It would be like England not supporting Australia, considering that most of the people in Australia, go ahead and have a relationship with the English. And the reason why they do is because they're all criminals. And that land was put by the English for criminals. And the convicts were sent to that island. And they became Australia. So if Australia gets into it with China, the English will go ahead and say, hey, you can't do that, you bloody bugger. Those are English people over in Australia. We must take care of them and love them. They are a brother from another mother. The Queen said so. Long live the Queen. Oh, shit, the Queen's dead. Long live the King. All right, g'day, mate. Thank you. Appreciate you. Of course they support Palestine. They're Turks. The thing is that the Arab nations don't want them. How easy would it be for them to grab and say, hey, like I said last night, 2 million people in Gaza. All right. Each Arab nation is going to take 25,000 people. By the time we get to the 100 Arab nations here, each will have 25,000 Palestinians in our borders, and then they can matriculate into our society. We'll base it on sex, not sex, sex, sects. We'll base it on sex. And we'll break it up and we'll put them in there and we'll give them each $10,000. Okay, we've got the money. Saudi Arabia will kick in. We'll throw a few billion at them. We'll get them set up. We'll get them a goat. We'll get them a wife. In this case, they're one and the same. Well, that was bad. Sorry. They'll put them in a hut. Get them a freaking some water, a job, whatever. And we'll take those 25,000 and we'll relocate West Bank and Gaza. And we'll bring our Muslim people back together. They don't want them. They don't want them because 90% of the adults living there want the Jews dead. 90% of Palestine want Jews dead. The kids are taught. Go look at the NWRA. Go look at the funding Joe Biden has paid for to indoctrinate those children in Palestine to hate Jews. I can show you the videos. There's 100 of them where children are talking about the extermination of Jews. I want to stab Jews. I want to go and kill them. And they're little 6-year-old kids being funded and taught this through the funding that Joe Biden is providing that he turned back on. The one that Donald Trump suspended because of its practices. Go look. Am I saying that they deserve to die? No. But what I'm saying is it's not Israel's responsibility to take people who are ultimately attack them through a terrorist attack. Are you kidding me? What the hell are you smoking? You come home from a business trip and some guy's on top of your wife doing the beast with 2 backs and you're supposed to cook him fucking breakfast? I know, sir. You just got done plowing my wife. I hope it was satisfactory, was it? Yeah, it was quite delightful. That's good. Very good. I was wondering, how would you like your eggs? Would you like an omelet? Over easy, sunny sides up, al dente? What can I do for you? Oh, perhaps a soft-boiled egg. How about scrambled with some cheese? Oh, that sounds delightful. I'll go ahead and do it. Would you like some grapefruit with that? No, but I'd like to go fuck your wife again. Absolutely. I'll go ahead and stand underneath you and catch. I'll get you a warm towel afterwards. What? What are you smoking? So you want the Jews to go ahead and play catch and cuck for the Palestinians? Give me a fucking break. You people are just ridiculous. Yeah, perhaps you could go ahead and have them over easy. And then you could have my wife over hard when you're done. Give me a break. If Palestine wanted a peaceful resolution to the last 17 years, they would have put some money into infrastructure, into building relationships, into building partnerships with the Jews like the rest of the fucking Muslim nations tried to do. Yeah. 3 peace treaties. Abraham Accord. 4th was on its way with Saudi Arabia. You would have had peace in the Middle East for the first time. And all of you knuckleheads are falling for this hook, line, and fucking sinker because Hamas, Iran, and Hezbollah and the IRGC have no desire to have the Muslim nations, who are terrorist nations, have the other Arab nations go against them and wipe them out. This is about survival. This has always been about Jews versus terrorists. This has nothing to do with anything else. And anyone who tells you that is selling you a load of horse shit with some fucking eggs on top. Oh, would you like some crepes with some horse shit? Absolutely. Oh, outstanding. Well, we have cow syrup for you too. It's delightful. The hell are you smoking? You think the Abraham Accords that Donald Trump put into place, you think Saudi Arabia, the Saudi prince, is talking to Israel, calling for peace. Saudi is the strongest Muslim nation that there is. Saudi Arabia has the most finances. Everything flows through Saudi Arabia. Nothing happens without the crown prince's approval in the Middle East. Even Iran fucking teeing off. Saudi Arabia runs the pulse. Iran runs the robbing of the bank. Israel is the sheriff. Of course they want them dead. Because that gives them the ability to run jihad against other Muslim countries who they've been fighting with for 3,000 fucking years. It lets them focus on going after the Sauds. It lets them focus on going after UAE. It lets them focus on going after Qatar. It lets them going after OPEC and the oil-rich countries where the American dollar valuation is based upon. Folks, wake up. This has nothing to do with religious rights and land grabs. This is about killing Jews and taking their land because they are the only thing that stands in the way for all-out war in the Middle East. Why? Because they have a nuke. They are the only nuclear-grade country in the region. Saudi doesn't have a nuke. Iran doesn't have a nuke. Egypt doesn't have a nuke, even though Egypt and Saudi want one, but they ain't going to get one. Israel has the ultimate deterrence, which keeps the rest of the Middle East in check. And it says, we'll have Nagasaki and Hiroshima 2.0 if you fuckers even flinch. And it is a huge deterrence to keep the Middle East out of Jerusalem, out of Israel. It's the Holy Land. Both religions, it has significance. From the resting place of Muhammad to the resurrection of the entire fucking world is supposed to end here. You've got Mecca, you've got Jerusalem, you have historical and biblical significance to both religions. And the Arabs have maintained to say, we'll let the Jews have it. Let the Jews have it. And you've got the terrorist countries like, I don't fucking think so. No, we're going to kill those Jews. This is what this is about. This is all this is about. It's all it's about. Israel is one of the most beautiful places on earth. And the reason why is because of the Jews. Okay? Gaza is one of the most beautiful places on earth before now it's turned into rubble. And if you think it's some third world shithole that looks like Beirut, let me tell you something, you're wrong. Because Gaza looks like a Crown Victorian freaking cruise ship destination on the coast is gorgeous. And like most Middle Eastern countries, their building systems are a little bit old. It's not Kuala Lumpur. It's not Bahrain. But it's not a shithole either. This whole thing that it's an airy prison. It's an air gulag concentration. Give me a break. Give me a break. The Jews allowed work furlough programs for tens of thousands of Gazans. Yes, their unemployment rate was high. Yes, their economy was unstable. Yes, they had to blockade the port because they know what they were doing, because it was allowing them to smuggle weapons in. Yes, they had Egypt watch the border and secure the border. But Israel was not, they didn't have military presence in Gaza. They didn't have military presence in West Bank. That's complete bullshit. They pulled out 17 years ago and they put up walls and put up fences. Why? Because they work. That is, unless you allow tens of thousands of Palestinian civilians to come in, where they map the weaknesses in the wall, where they find strategies over 3-4 years of how you can go ahead and hurt the Jews the most and how you can kill as many Jews as possible, and wait for the most opportune time around Yom Kippur and wait for a concert to take place and paraglide, sail, and foot people in to kill Jews. And now the Jews are supposed to help? They're supposed to turn on the water? Fuck that. That's the problem. Joe Biden is calling for civility. Joe Biden is calling for empathy. This is war. I'm sorry. Now, do I think the United States should put troops in? No. I am 100%. Only thing I've ever said is put the carriers in the Gulf. That's all I said. I said, do not send in Delta. Do not send in the teams. The Jews got their own special forces. They don't need our help. They've got some of the best special forces in the world. Mossad is absolutely capable. Amman is capable. The private security force of Israel and their intelligence mercenaries and hired contractors are some of the most effective in the world. How did they miss this attack? They got lazy. Period. They got lazy. Same thing we did in 9/11. We rested on things not happening. Nothing had happened since 2021. The Iron Dome was extremely effective. They launched 3,500 rockets in 2021, and it wasn't nearly as bad during the Six-Day War as it was during this attack because Israel expected it. They anticipated it. They literally had nothing go on. They were making peace with Muslim countries. The terrorist focus, once the caliphate fell with Al-Qaeda and ISIS, it scared others into stop moving against Israel. Hezbollah quieted down. Hamas quieted down. They created furlough programs to bring workers in. It became more prosperous than it ever had been. They had opened up their borders. They were trying to embrace Palestine and do what the fucking Muslim countries and the United States wanted. And what did they get for it? Stabbed in the back like Caesar. God, if you people knew, not you, but if people knew anything about this, they would be scary. They would be terrifying. A lot of people are saying, well, 17 years ago, they voted for Hamas into power. They didn't know Hamas was a terrorist organization. Bullshit. IDF had conflicts and bombings, and the JIF force went ahead and bombed with Hamas's name in 96. They did it in 2001. 2004, Hamas had bombings all over Israel. They knew what they were getting. Their entire charter was written, and the 37 freaking pieces of the charter are all talking about death to Jews, death to the infidels, cleansing and eradicating Jews from Israel. Give me a break. Well, yeah, but once they were empowered, they could do whatever they want. Well, then why didn't you rise up against them? You know where they were. Why didn't you turncoat? Why didn't you go to the Israelis and have them hit these areas? You know why. Because you wanted Jews dead. Stop pretending. If the Palestinians could just admit, at least the Jews don't hide behind it. They're like, you go ahead, hit us. We go ahead and we blow you off the fucking map. Period. They don't hide behind it. They're like, you got 72 hours to get out. You're all going to fucking die. That's what they said. Openly. They sent out pamphlets. They gave you 72 hours to proceed. And then finally, the United States with pressure said, okay, fine. We will hit the north. You go to the south. And sent them to the south. That's not Jewish. That's Arab. I don't know what my voice is today. Hashma, you go to the south. In the north, we go ahead and leave you alone. So what did they do? They attempted to move to the south. And a lot of them did. And what did the Jews do? They started hitting targets in the north. And yes, innocents died. Would you like to know how many people died in the fucking Iraq war? Clutch pearls less. You guys were celebrating this shit twice. You watch CNN 24 hours a day as you stuff bonbons down your throat when you watch Desert Storm and Desert Shield. You were glued to the TV on OIF and OEF. You're kidding me. You watch Baghdad get turned into fucking rubble. Do you think those were all military targets? 40,000 fucking civilian Germans were turned into liquid goo during World War II by the British and the United States, bombing the Beverly Hills of Germany. No military targets, just rich elitists, just a bunch of rich Nazis. All went into bomb shelters. When they opened up those shelters, liquefied goo. It got so fucking hot, they got reducted by their fat and blood and turned into a black goo. It got so hot in those fires. Those infernos ravaged those towns, those Bavarian areas and countries, cities. War is hell. Hiroshima, we ignited how many Japanese? Twice? Non-military targets, civilian areas with a high propensity of civilians in the area to send a message to the Emperor of Japan. We are done fucking around. We are going to light your nation on fire. We won't have to negotiate peace treaties because we are going to turn it into a freaking Christmas tree for the next 50 years. And when it cools down, we are going to take a shit on every holy site that remains. Stop screwing with the United States. What about all those people? What do you think about Mogadishu? What do you think about Bosnia and Herzegovina? What do you think about Russia? What do you think about the Jews? What do you think about the Persians and the slaves? What do you think about Christians and the Romans? War is hell, and it kills indiscriminately, and it doesn't matter who you are. If you are in the way of the mission, you are going to die. I'm not saying it's right. This is why people come back, and I have to talk brothers off the fucking cliff and sisters off the cliff. And I've done it on my show countless times, where people want to end themselves because of the horrific shit that they went through. We've all got our demons. We all saw varying degrees of war. We all saw varying degrees of screwed up shit. All of a sudden, you think a war is one-sided? Why do you think that you're not seeing the shit that went on in Ukraine and Russia and still goes on today? Why? Why are you seeing what's going on in Jerusalem and Israel, but you're not seeing the same thing from Ukraine and Russia? Does anyone want to tell me why? Is there anyone with any guts? Is there anyone who's honest want to tell me why? I'll listen. I'm right here. There's only one reason why you're not seeing video coming out of Ukraine where it's all vehicles or it's all planes or it's a civilian freaking tank running over a civilian car. You're not seeing the bloodshed. You're not seeing the bodies blown apart. You're not seeing the decapitated heads in some of these churches that Russia has left behind. Why? Why aren't you same amount of cell phones, same amount of data, same amount of internet? Why aren't you seeing it? I'll wait for an answer. Somebody call in and tell me why. Let's see who's the smartest person in the show today. I'll wait. Why are you not seeing the same level of coverage from Ukraine and Russia that you're seeing in Israel? Jason says too many innocent people are dying. You're seeing innocent people. You're seeing corpses of babies come out from Israel and Hamas. You're seeing beheaded people. You're seeing grandmas getting beaten to death. You're seeing young ladies being kidnapped and held hostage. You're seeing cars blow up. You're seeing buildings getting toppled from top to bottom. Why aren't you seeing this stuff from Ukraine and Russia? Come on, y'all. Why? Why aren't you seeing it? You answer this question, you're going to unlock something. You're going to unlock something in your head and you're going to be like, holy shit. And you're going to start seeing things completely different. But I'm not going to give you the answer. Because the people in Ukraine and Russia are white. No, there's nothing to do with it. Yes, I know I had family fight for the United States. It sucks. War is hell. Agree with you. Not as intense. No, not as much hate for a group of people. Russia and Ukraine don't hate each other. There's been a civil war going on there since 2014. There's plenty of animosity between Ukraine and Russia. Zelensky tried to assassinate Putin, for God's sakes, with a drone. We confirmed that. Come on, folks. There is plenty of history in Russia versus Ukraine. They're a separatist nation. They split apart during Czechoslovakia. You guys remember that? And the reorganization from the old Russian Empire into the freedom and democracy, red, white, and blue flag of Russia. You know, the Gorbachev and Reagan experiment, where the oligarchs simply took power over Russia. The KGB and the Politburo went underground. Drugs and prostitution and mafia took over Russia. So they expelled it, hate the United States even more, and Putin brought back the old school Iron Curtain regime of the KGB and the Politburo, and the oligarchs worked for him. Don't you know these type of things? And yeah, he did some things. He built some Orthodox churches and some Christian churches. And he helped us hunt ISIS and Al-Qaeda, which was a mutual assured benefit because they wanted to kill Russians too. And then he went on the world stage and he sent food and money to Africa. And he tried to become this prolific leader for 10 years and change his image. And then he said, fuck this, I'm done. I'm invading. They're still going to allow Ukraine to be in the UN. I'm done, fuck them. I'm going to go into Ukraine. Yeah, that war. Explain to me why you're not seeing anything. I'm waiting for the answer. United States government doesn't want us to see it. Nope, that's not it. Well, okay, maybe the United States government doesn't want us to see it, but why are we not seeing it? I think they are programming us to accept getting involved in this war. Now, money, follow the money. That's a big part of it. Yes, follow the money. Yes, BlackRock, Vanguard. No. Don't go Q on me. Stay here. Stay here. Don't go to BlackRock and Bezos and Vanguard. Stop it. Don't go to bioweapon labs. Knock it off. Stay real. Stay serious. Stop giving me the playbook answer for all people who follow Q. And I won't give you any leftist, Antifa, fascist, Nazi bullshit that the left bring. Stay in the center. Stay on reality. Stay on what you can prove. It's a simple fucking answer, folks. This isn't hard. This is not hard. No, it's not blackmail. It's not money laundering. There's only one reason why you're not seeing dead babies being pulled out of buildings in Ukraine and Russia. But you're seeing it over in Israel and Palestine. Why? Money laundering, blah, 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 blah. Stop it. For the United States to launder money, they don't need to send it to Ukraine. Please stop. There are plenty of fucking countries in the United States, and you don't launder that amount of money, folks. You can't launder that amount of money. There's no infrastructure in place for them to fucking launder $150 billion in Ukraine. Do you even know how money laundering works? I'm losing my patience. Do you have any idea how money laundering works? You have to put that in as a shell game. You move money from one place to another, but you have to put it in a front. You have to put it in a business that has equity. $150 billion. Ukraine doesn't have the capability to launder $150 billion fucking dollars. Stop. Is money laundering a problem in Ukraine? Yes. Is corruption a problem? Yes. Are drugs? Yes. All of those things are true. But for people to say Joe Biden needs to launder his money, he ran it through 20 shell companies. He's dealing in millions. He's not dealing in billions. Oh, he needs to pay off all the politicians. The politicians are getting rich for free. From the political action committees, the special interest groups, dark money, Citizens United. What the fuck do we need Ukraine for? Stop it. Focus. Focus. It's not oil. It's really fucking simple. The question is, you guys are trying to find out something bigger. You're trying to solve the end game. Stop solving the end game and just answer the question. Why are you seeing Israel and Palestine and the bloodshed on TV, first and foremost, buildings falling, all of this horrendous bullshit, but you're not seeing anything with Russia and Ukraine? Think. You're going to the end game. Stop going to the end game. Oil. That might be the long term. That's not why. Because Israel, unless Lebanon gets involved and we start getting Qatar involved, unless we start getting Saudi Arabia involved, oil's not going to take a huge dip. It'll take a hit. It'll take a balloon hit, but it's not going to be any sustainable decrease that we saw in 76. We have diversified. Oil production in the United States is actually doing very well. Stop it. It's not oil. It's not Soros. It's stop. Deprogram your brain. This is a simple answer. The only show you want is one you hear or see. It may be a simple answer, but I haven't been able to figure it out for quite a while. Well, you're going to figure it out today on this show. Media. The squad is insisting on funds to be sent to help the Palestinian people. Yes, they are. Takeover. No. Folks. Wheat. No. You're thinking it's not always about money. Christianity, no. It's because Israel is an important ally. Now we're getting closer to the truth. Now you're scratching the surface. Mike says, is Israel territory? No. Plausible deniability? No. You will know. If you work together, you're going to come up. I'm not going to give you the answer. I refuse to give you the answer, Ben, because it doesn't help anybody. You're going to need to get rid of all that stuff in your head that you see on Fox News, that you see on CNN, the Q shit. Shed it all. Religion. No, it's deeper than religion. This war, we've already said, has nothing to do with money, has nothing to do with territory, has nothing to do with religion. It has nothing to do with any of that. We know what caused it. We know why it's happening. And it's not Vanguard and it's not some fucking territory of the New World Order. Stop it. This has been going on longer than all of that shit. You got to break this down to Sodom and Gomorrah type stuff. Cain and Abel. This is like the beginning of times and the end of times here. Why is it being shown about Israel and fucking Palestine? And why is it literally a blackout on seeing stuff in Ukraine and Russia? Stop thinking about the final solution. Stop trying to figure out the why. Ask the why about that. Why is it not being shown? Stop asking the why is it happening and ask why is it not being shown? We're not a democracy. It doesn't matter about it. I don't know who you're talking to. It's because of pure hate. No. Morals. No. I volunteered the squad to go in a gut. No. I don't watch any of that. No. I don't watch the news. It's the plan. Israel is more important than Ukraine. Whoa! 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 Wait a second. Darla just said Israel is more important than Ukraine. Mike just said, what did Mike say? Mike scratched the surface. It's because Israel's an important ally. Jared says trying to pull on emotions so we get involved. Israel is more important than Ukraine. You're scratching the surface. Israel and God is the most important. Yeah. I don't know. That's not it. Jewish, no. Okay. I'll give you a hint. When you think of Russia, describe some words. Go. And I want you to take the whole collective. I want you to take post-Cold War or pre-Cold War, post-World War II, all the way up to today. Use a few adjectives, describe Russia. Go. Distraction. No, it's not a distraction. Dude, Jews are being slaughtered. Okay? It's not a distraction. Go ahead. Because the Bible says it's going to happen. Yeah. That's not what it's about. I'm trying. You're talking about the end game. I'm talking about why is it not being shown on TV? Why is Israel and Palestine being shown on every news channel, every Twitter feed, everywhere? You can't get away from it. It's 24 hours a day on Fox. Ukraine wasn't 24 hours a day on Fox, folks. Why? Why is Ukraine and Russia not being focused on, but this is? There we go. Susie. Big, cold, harsh winters, hateful. That describes Russia. Perfect, Susie. Great. Good job. Describe Ukraine. Now describe Ukraine. Be honest. Be honest. It's the only way this exercise works. Be honest. Give me some words to describe. No, to scare people. No. Because the war in Ukraine is lost. No. No. Destination. No. Corrupt. You wouldn't have said corrupt. Stop. Stop trying to go back to the things you've heard. Think about Ukraine before the war kicked off. Think about Ukraine. What do you think about Ukraine? Describe it. Oligarchs, lithium and wheat. Why can't you people just admit? Who's going to do it? Ukraine, God-fearing nation. Who's going to be honest? God, who's going to be honest? Who's going to do it? Come on, keep up. This is fun. I love this. Small, agrarian, small, bountiful food production. Listen to you guys. Food supply, dry fields. Can't believe none of you have said potash and sulfur. No, you've learned all this. What did you know before Ukraine was hit about Ukraine? Dictatorship. Never thought about Ukraine. Boom! Rebecca. Boom! Right in the freaking chops. You didn't know shit about Ukraine. You didn't know shit about. None of you knew about Ukraine. Not one of you. You didn't know about bioweapon labs. You didn't know about wheat production. You didn't know about irrigation. You didn't know about oligarchs. You didn't know about corruption. You didn't know about child trafficking. Give me a fucking break. You didn't know anything about Ukraine. None of you knew shit about Ukraine. You want to know how I know? Because I know quite a bit about Ukraine, but I don't know nearly as much as I did about Ukraine that I know now. And either did you. You didn't know shit about Syria. You didn't know shit about Crimea. The reason why is because you have been taught since you were this high not to give a flying shit about Russia, that they are the enemy, that they are communist, that everywhere out there is under the rule of the Iron Curtain. That is what you've been taught, and you don't have any sentiment towards Ukraine, and you don't give a fuck about Ukraine. And if you've changed your flag to Ukraine, that's because people thought it was cool. You don't care about Ukraine at all. That's why we don't have protests. That's why we don't have college campuses throwing the yellow and blue around. The United States told you that Ukraine is oppressed and Russia is the big bad demon evil again, and you don't fucking care. All you know is that all your money is going into fucking Ukraine and you don't know why. So they don't show it to you. They don't show you what it's paying for because all you're going to do is say, I don't care about this. So you have to hear the horror stories. You have to imagine the stories. They have to paint you a new picture that Ukraine is this freedom and democracy and loving country that is just going to revolutionize Europe. It's not. It doesn't fucking matter. It is literally a wheat harvest. It is literally potash. It is raw minerals. It is an economic wet dream for whatever country is involved and runs it. That's it. It has no playing capability. It doesn't have a military. It doesn't have nukes. It doesn't sit at the table. Nobody cares about Ukraine, just like nobody gave a fuck about Crimea. That's why Obama drew the red line and said, just go in and take it. We don't care. You don't hear or see, you don't see anything because they don't want you to see, because they know you don't fucking care. And the media tried to show it to you and you didn't watch. The media tried to feed it to you and you didn't care. Their ratings went down. The moment that Trump stopped being the topic of choice, CNN fucking tanked. So they were like, oh my God, we don't have a death ticker on COVID anymore. We can't sell you Provasic. We can't give you any more Propecia or Australian Dream. You're not going to buy gold from William fucking Devane. Whatever will we do? We don't have COVID anymore. The death ticker's gone. Let's shift to Ukraine. And guess what? You didn't watch. You didn't give a fuck. None of you did. You saw the tank rolling over the car and you're like, whatever. You heard the Ghost of Kiev story and you're like, this is bullshit. Everybody knows this is bullshit. You saw the air raid sirens with Joe Biden and you're like, that's fake. No matter what they put out, no matter what they embraced, we all just were like, bullshit. This is stupid. We don't care. We know Putin's not going to invade Poland. Come on. Why would he? Both world wars started in Poland. Do you think anyone's dumb enough to go do it again? Do you think he's dumb enough to go in and invade Poland? Is Putin a good guy? No, he's a fucking crazy homicidal fucko. And they need to poison his ass. But nobody cares. All these people who are changing their flags, I stand with Ukraine, they don't care. They can't tell you any place in Ukraine outside of Kyiv. The only people who care about Ukraine are Ukrainians, and the only people who care about Russia are Russians. We have been told that it is a cold, dark, dank place with no life, where there's no hope, that it's constantly winter. You've never been to Russia. It's fucking gorgeous. I've been to Vladivostok, Petropavlovsk, Severomorsk, Kinsk. I've been to Kremlin, Minsk, excuse me, jeez. Spending too much time with the K's in Kajirka-Fuckistan. I've been to plenty of places in Russia, and it's gorgeous. Czechoslovakia, old Czechoslovakia. It's beautiful. Winters are cold. You know where else they're cold? Chicago and Minnesota. If you've ever been to Minnesota, you've been to Russia. But Russia is not this cold, black onyx place that looks like the lower rings of hell where there was an ice age. But you have been led to believe that Russia is your enemy since you've been this big. And you've been under the threat of nuclear holocaust because of Russia. You saw the Berlin Wall come down. You know the KGB. Your image of them are Russian Cossacks in brown frickin' bearskin hats, carrying rifles and marching with their feet up in the air, with giant green ICBMs with a hammer and sickle on them. Come on! That's what you think about Russia. That's what you think about Ukraine. And of course, you have every right to think that because that's all you saw. So you're not going to see and be empathetic because they tried and they failed. Now, why are they showing Israel? Why are they showing Palestine? Why are they showing buildings falling? Why are they showing fucking burnt bodies? Why are they showing paragliders? Why are they showing walls being inserted onto? Why are they showing armaments and guns? Why are they documenting this 24 hours, 7 days a week? And why are you seeing it? Answer the fucking question. Pardon my French. The answer is right there. I just told you. Why are they doing this with Israel and Palestine? Why are you seeing it? But you're not seeing Ukraine and Russia. Ratings! That's it! Because you're watching. Because you're watching. Because you've told them you care about this. Because most of us are religious. And most of us went through the Gulf War. And most of us care about the Jews. And we all learned that they were murdered and destroyed and killed. And it was a horrible time in history. 11 million. And evil wants to kill the Jews. And we want to see the Jews win. So we want to watch it on TV, live, 24 hours a fucking day. So they can sell us Provasic and My Pillow. And we can be on our period and still wear a white dress and go swimming. And we can touch the fields of wheat and swim with dolphins because menstruation's fun. If we buy Tampax, and if you don't, well, then you're a bloody mess. This is what they want. It's all about fucking ratings. And if you don't know that by now, then you're just not paying attention. You do watch it. You watch this show, and I've been talking about it nonstop for 11 days. That's why. Because Ukraine and Russia don't sell. So the media don't cover it. They tried. All they're getting is a fucking bunch of guys firing AKs at nothing. We're not seeing buildings explode because this is the defense. They can't show Kiev getting hit. This is Russia versus Ukraine. This is a border conflict. That's what this is. It's not exciting. It's fucking boring. And it's like most war. Your finger is up your nose and you're waiting. And once you hear that zip and that pop, it's time to punch the clock. But that's not exciting. That's why they had to fabricate. The CNN reporters, get down! When the explosions are 20 miles away. And the cameraman, look up at the sky. The cameraman's go, there's nothing there. It's a fucking bird. What? What am I supposed to be recording? Incoming fire, mortars. Where? Where? Where are they? Is this like the Weather Channel standing into the wind and then you see people walk by across the street and you're like, the guy's standing in a puddle. The water, so it's actually touching my scrotum, Bob. I'm literally leaning into the wind. And yeah, I can't even move. And then there's fucking grandma in a walker behind him. Ukraine doesn't sell. Russia doesn't sell. It doesn't sell commercial. It doesn't keep you locked in. It doesn't keep you glued in. I've got Andy calling. Andy, are you on screen? He is. Let's see what Andy wants to talk about. Oh, Andrew, let's see what you've got to say. See if I can get Andy in here. All right, Andy, you've got the floor. What do you want to talk about? Andy, I can't hear you. Try it again. Talk. Can you hear me?
How about now? Can you hear me?
I can. What's up, man? I like your hat. What do you want to talk about, Andy?
Oh, thank you for the compliments on the hat.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? Oh, you're just saying because it's like an American hat.
No, I see the USA emblem and the shield on it, and it's vaguely familiar.
U.S. national team, soccer.
Yeah, national team. Thank you. I couldn't see the top of it. So anyway, go ahead. What do you want to talk about, brother?
Yeah, I just happened to stumble upon you, and I listened to the past few minutes. Without a doubt, the media, they cover things for ratings. But I'm sorry, I'm not as cynical as you.
That's fine.
Just because they cover things for ratings doesn't mean that they only exclusively factor that in when deciding what to cover and how much to cover.
Educate me on why you think that.
Why do I think that? Because I think you'll never agree with this, but I think the media, for the most part, okay, not the far right crazy MAGA media, but the MSM, the mainstream media.
Well, let's identify what the far right crazy MAGA media is. Can you help me understand?
OAN, Newsmax, Right Side Broadcasting Network.
I would agree.
The entertainment wing of the Republican Party.
Okay. And you don't believe that wing of the party. It's interesting you said I would never agree with you because I just agreed with you. But that's okay. You've come in with some predetermined expectations of me, which are interesting because I have none of you. Okay. But that's probably because I don't know you, but you think you know me after a couple minutes. So I would agree with you.
I'm making judgments, or I'm making which one I'm looking for?
Uninformed statements.
Well, here's what I'm thinking. Like 90% of the people on Rumble are right-wing lunatics. Not all, but 90%. So I'm kind of lumping you in with them.
Well, did you see how many followers I have on Rumble?
Like 5.
No, that's ridiculous. So you obviously didn't check.
Hold on, let me see. I'll look.
No, you don't have to check. I'll just tell you. So do me a favor. Do you want to have a conversation or do you want to insult each other? Because I can be acquiesced to either request because I can go off on you as much as you're trying to attempt to insult me.
No, I want to.
Do you want to? No. Do you want to go ahead and measure dicks, which I'm cool with, because I can do that. And do you want to attempt to embarrass each other, or do you want to have a fucking conversation? Which one do you want?
I'll do a conversation. That's fine.
Good. Then stop being a douche.
All right. Don't get your panties in a ruffle.
No. You're the one who's being a cunt. Stop being a cunt. And I'll stop and I'll reply in turn. If you want to have a respectful conversation, my panties aren't in a bunch. You have now taken your 5th attempt to elevate me, and you've failed. It's not working.
Okay.
That's a cunt move.
So here just to give you.
Okay, great. So I'm going to make my point, and then I'm going to answer your question. OAN is a shit network. I don't watch it. I have no even idea if it's still on the air. Rumble, you say, is a bunch of right-wing lunatics. I disagree with you. You probably don't watch a lot of Rumble channels, but I've got 1,000 people. I'm on Facebook. That's who follows me predominantly, and podcast. I don't watch Fox News very often, but I will go ahead and I'll source them because these are the topics. I will not source CNN. I will not source MSNBC, and I will not source Fox. Here are the issues that I usually follow on which channels, and I'll give them to you before you assume anything else, and then we can move on to your next comment. All Sides Balanced is one that I spend 90% of my time. Also Gold Watch, which is military and information from there. And most of the things that I get are from The Wire, which are all flash news traffic, which have not been touched by the AP, which have not been touched by Reuters, which have not been touched by ABC, and filtered down to have the left or right spin. That's where I get most of my news. And then the only other people that I usually talk to are sources that I've collected over 30 years of being in this trade, whether it be in small business, whether military intelligence, or any relationships that I've developed here in Washington/Virginia. So those are the ones that I follow. I am not a MAGA supporter. I've called out Donald Trump on the stolen election. I think he's full of shit. I've called out J6ers. I've called out Trump over the last 9 months more than any other conservative channel. I do love the policies he had in place for 3.5 years, and I thought the last 6 months of his presidency was absolute petulance. So now that you know a little bit about me, I will allow you to say whatever the fuck you want. Go ahead.
I owe you an enormous apology because I'm very surprised to hear a lot of the things you just said. So my apologies for that, because you're atypical for a lot of what's on Rumble. Just to give you my background or where I'm coming from, I guess under today's definitions, I'm a rhino. I am a never Trump Republican. I've always voted Republican until Trump came around. So I know the usual questions. Well, what about Biden? What about Biden?
I don't do that.
Okay, good. What I tell people is if Trump is the nominee for the Republicans and the Democrats nominate a bag of dog shit, I will vote for the bag of dog shit.
Okay.
So
no, you wouldn't. You just wouldn't vote.
Trump. No, I would vote for the. Trump is such a friggin' it's interesting. What made you come around to see how dangerous Trump is?
Nothing. You're putting words in my mouth. I never said those words in my life. I never said he was dangerous.
Okay, I'm sorry. What made you stop supporting Trump after 3.5 years?
I still support Trump.
You
still support of course I do. I still support anybody who has a platform. He's going to be the Republican nominee.
I find this very interesting then.
Sure.
So
sure.
You accept that he didn't win the election. It wasn't stolen. He lost.
Well, let's be careful. Okay, if we're gonna talk in diametrically opposed viewpoints, or is there an opportunity to have a middle? Stolen and lost, I do not support stolen in any way, shape, or form. Lost, I do. But I also believe, with no equivocation, that the election was 100% unconstitutional to what the Founding Fathers wanted, that what the FEC has stated, and I believe it was unconstitutional. That does not mean it was stolen. And if you would like me to have that argument with you, I'll be more than happy to do that with you.
No, so I find it interesting. So why is my...
It's okay. I can see it. Your camera's better than most. What's your first name, by the way? Something I don't know, and I'd like to know. Is that okay? Andy. My name's Matt. Nice to meet you. Okay, so we're switching a lot of topics here, but anything is fine with me. We can talk about the media. I am cynical about the media because I understand how Nielsen ratings work. I've been a marketer for 3 Fortune 15 companies. I've purchased the commercials. And for you to say that the media doesn't cover whatever the Nielsen's ratings is means that you're woefully uneducated on how marketing works with mass media. That's the only thing they focus on. The only thing.
I want to talk about media, but what really interests me is because your thoughts on the election are very atypical. It's not the
I know
norm.
they are. Well, it's
Right.
because the truth is not sexy and the truth doesn't sell. And
Right.
it's easy
Okay,
for
so-
the Democrats to say it was the most fair election in history, which is a complete fucking lie. And it's okay for Republicans to say it was stolen because that's a fucking lie.
Right. So your contention is leading up to the election, whether it was mail-in ballots or just different things that happened because of COVID or whatever, you don't like the way it was done. I get that.
No, it's not. No, it's not about a matter of liking or not liking. Sorry, I want to make sure I'm represented properly in
I'm
this
sorry. When I say
conversation.
like, I'm sorry. When I say like, I don't mean like. I mean that you felt that the Constitution was not followed. That certain states put certain procedures or policies in place that were not constitutional.
I think that's a very gross reflection of what I think, but I think it in a nutshell, just so we can save some time. Yes, but I think my biggest bone of contention, if I can put it out there, is not that I didn't like it. It's that we usurped power to judges to write policy for state elections, which is unconstitutional. It is supposed to be done by the state legislature. They can go ahead and decide if a piece of legislation by judges deciding if it is constitutional to the state and to the federal, which both have to be considered because it is a federal election when it comes to the President of the United States. And those were disregarded. And because of emergency powers, we allowed judges to make decisions that were antithetical to the legislative process. And I believe that is one of the first reasons why it was unconstitutional. Second, I also not believe, these are facts I can back up, we can talk about it, that these changes to the state electoral process created the ability for mail-in ballots to be mass-produced and sent out to people who are unregistered to vote, which is against FEC, and it is a violation to send out a registered ballot to somebody who is unregistered and then count that as a vote. And the reason why is emergency powers were put into place to allow this to take place. Now, I don't have a problem. We're not going to go back to 2020 and overturn that election. I'm not one who thinks that Donald Trump won either way. But when the highest election total ever in U.S. history was 121 million people, and you had 181 million people vote, brother, you and I both know that you have never seen an election of this magnitude or this size ever. So where did 60 million extra people come from? Simple. Either everyone started to vote, and they have never in the past, or we gave them the ability to vote easily with absolutely no checks and balances, which would be mail-in ballots to people who are unregistered. If you look at the voting database, if you look at the voting count, if you look at the trends in every single one of the swing states, more people voted in those states than ever before. You saw district swing 90-10. That doesn't happen. It didn't even happen in Mondale versus Reagan. You don't see diametrically opposed districts. You don't see 90-10 vote splits, one for Biden and one for Trump, unless something has happened with the people who are voting. Those blue districts receive mail-in ballots. It was actually done through COVID, executive powers. It was absolutely unconstitutional. Unfortunately, Supreme Court has not heard that case. Hopefully they will, and they can make a decision that judges should not make policy. That is not their job. They are there to interpret the law. I'll shut up, and that's my belief.
I'm not well versed enough on the topics you've been talking about. You
Fair
clearly
enough.
seem to know your stuff, so I have to honor what you said. I'm not going
Cool.
to dispute it. I'd have to go research it more to form an opinion. But I find it interesting that you do believe that despite the things you just mentioned, that at the end of the day, Biden won the election.
I believe Biden won the election based upon the vote count and the Electoral College, yes.
With that said, do you have a problem with Trump saying what he has said and doing what he's done every day, multiple times for the past 3 years or whatever it's been?
So I don't want to do what I did that you didn't want me to do to you earlier. I'm trying to give you fair. I believe symbolism is important, and you should be just as big as me. So hold on a second. I'm trying to fix
fine.
everything.
Don't worry about it.
No, dude. No, this is like the CEO that invites you in, and his desk is fucking 6 feet tall, and he looks down on you. I hate that shit. All right. So I'm going to have to beg your forgiveness, and I'm going to have you give me permission to do a little whataboutism. Because listen, whataboutism is bringing in topics that are completely diluting the conversation, red herring arguments. I'm not doing that, and I don't want you to think I am. But I also need to use comparative contrast statements that are reflective of just because it's a different party or just because it's a different time, it still has significance on.
You're going to give me the Hillary. What about Hillary
No,
Clinton?
I'm not. No,
Okay.
I'm not. No, I'm not. To say that I didn't like Democrats doing it in 2000 with Gore and Bush, of course, I'm a Republican. And I was like, Bush can do no wrong. I was very naive. To say that I didn't see that in 2016 with 238 Democrats reportedly on video, on podcasts, in their books, whatever, screamed to the top of their lungs that 2016 was stolen. I didn't like that very much either. I did not like when Stacey Abrams did it. I did not like when Beto O'Rourke did it. And I can say that about Democrats. Now, so when 2020 happened, did I like it when Donald Trump did it? No. And I spoke out against it every single night. But you're going to ask me the next question is, how can I split those hairs and say, I didn't like it with Democrats. How can I still support Donald Trump? Because he has an unequivocal right to say those things. He has a right under freedom of speech to say that and question an election, because that is exactly what due process calls for. You can challenge an election. In fact, it is absolutely the right of any candidate to do so and not concede an election in the time frame before January 19th encroaches upon us, for him to finally give up presidential power to the honorary elected president-elect Joe Biden. And he did just that. He is also allowed afterwards to do the exact same thing if he felt it truly was stolen. Your point of contention, and you take umbrage with, if I'm not mistaken, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, that Donald Trump did more than exercise a verbal contestation to the election, that he physically manifested this into January 6th, into fake state electors coming in, and those type of things. Is that what your bone of contention with, and not his ability to say so?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head, but you sold me a little short with my contentions because there's so much more on top of what you just said.
Well, let's lay some out. Go ahead and give them to me.
The thing, I can make a list of 1,000 things I cannot stand about Trump.
Mm-hmm.
And oh, by the way, mean tweets, because I love that talking point. You don't like his mean. My response to mean tweets is the fact that Trump is an asshole is number like 8,000 on his list of faults. So I don't.
And it's
care
not
about
against the law to be an asshole. Otherwise, every politician would be in jail.
Correct. The thing I hate about Trump the most, and again, I can make a laundry list of things.
Yeah, give me the top.
And
5.
again, keep in mind too, because you're such a lib or what? It's like, no, I've always.
I don't do that, bro. Bro, I don't call people snowflakes.
You don't,
but you're talking to me.
Okay, I got you.
So I don't want to talk about all these other fucking infantile juveniles who can't they eat Tide Pods, and I can't stand the ones that have Nazi flags. Okay, I just went after Nick Fuentes last night. You didn't watch my show, and I had Nazis all over my channel. My wife has been threatened. I've been told that they're going to cut my wife's uterus open in front of me while they fuck my 13-year-old daughter. Okay,
Lovely,
bro. I don't want to talk about those people because those people are insignificant. They're nothing to me. I want to talk to you. So let's stick to us.
But I'm not referring necessarily to Nick Fuentes. I think just a lot of the mainstream far right commentators on Rumble.
Yeah, I know. I know.
But anyway,
give me the 5. Give me the 5 things you don't like about Trump that make you just despise him.
All right. Well, the first is he undermines everything, which is a complete autocratic move. He's undermined the media. And again, the media deserves criticism. But he is,
criticism? Do you believe the fourth estate is impartial to the truth?
That what's impartial to the truth?
The fourth estate. The fourth estate being 3 branches of government, the fourth being implied by Hamilton and by Madison, that the fourth estate is the fourth branch of government to ensure that the checks and balance process is taking place? Do you believe the Fourth Estate is duly doing their job to report the truth to the citizens of this country?
For the most part, yes.
I vehemently disagree with you, but that's okay. We don't have to agree on this.
So anyway, he has undermined the media. He has undermined the DOJ.
Okay, give me some examples about. Stop. We can't. That's one example, and we're branching off into different segues. How has he undermined everything he's touched? How has he undermined the media? Because the issue that I have is in 2015, when he came down the Golden Staircase, the media encouraged him. I could show you 100, 200 sound bites of late night TV, Democrats espousing. He was in rap songs. Jesse Jackson.
They thought he was a buffoon.
Reverend Al Sharpton both gave him NAACP awards. He received the Rainbow Award for 5 years running. This man was an icon in TV. Every black person I know knew Trump. Why was he considered to be an idol to the left, and then he wasn't?
I think idol is a strong word. I don't think anyone.
I don't. Every single Democrat and Republican presidential candidate, gubernatorial candidate, mayor, state legislature, all sought Donald Trump's approval. He was invited to every single big donor list. Clinton invited him to his wedding. The Bushes invited him to his wedding. He was friends with Reagan. He was at the Reagan Library opening. Donald Trump has been in politics. He was absolutely handheld by Oprah, one of probably the most influential people in the 80s and the 90s for the Democrat Party. I disagree with you that he was enamored with. He was looked up to. People said Trump rich on rap albums. Trump was not hated. He maybe not be taken seriously, but he wasn't hated by anyone in the liberal left. He was actually told to run. They wanted to see him run because they thought it would split the ticket. People said, I'll write him a check if he runs. Colbert said it. Jon Stewart said it. Jimmy Fallon said it. They have all said it. Why was he considered to be almost like a joke? And then they gave him no chance to win, and then they all ate crow in 2016. Why do you believe the media did their job? And then when they realized that they couldn't stop him, that there was a movement, that there was a shadow vote for him, that they decided to go ahead and create things like the Dirty Dossier, wiretaps, FBI, the stories of the P-tapes, the Stormy Daniels digging up, the Michael Avenatti. You guys wanted him to run for president. Don't you remember that? Because they didn't think Joe Biden could possibly win in 2020 or anyone else. They wanted Michael Avenatti, the scumbag lawyer.
Again, I'm not a Democrat, so don't.
No, but you're wait. You just defended the media, so you may not be a Democrat, but you're shilling for the media. You just told me with a straight face that the media is actually doing their job in most respects, and I disagree with you wholeheartedly. And I can give you example after example that Fox News and CNN are not designed to provide the news to the people or the truth. They're simply trying to sell product. Once
Trump won the election, who was his first interview with? Who did he grant his first interview to?
Wasn't Barbara Wawa, was it? I don't know. Don't know the answer to that question.
Alex Jones.
Yeah. Alex Jones is a douche. I'm not an Alex Jones fan. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. That's an interesting point. I had no idea.
Who with half a brain would be an Alex Jones fan?
Well, I think listen, if you're going to say Alex Jones has got everything wrong that he's ever said, that's a lie. But if you're going to tell me that he's a complete nut job who if you think you're going to get me to embrace him after Sandy Hook and the things that he said, considering that I lived a mile and a half from Columbine, that I was in Aurora during the shooting, that the El Paso Mall, Sila Vista Mall, I worked in, no, bro. It's a reason why I carry everywhere. So Alex Jones is not a part of the conversation. It is a decision that I didn't know about. I can't defend that decision. It certainly wouldn't have been my first choice.
But it just speaks volumes. Again, and this gets to another reason I hate Trump, and I know we're jumping all over the map.
Hate's a strong word. Are you a Christian?
No.
Okay, so let me get this straight. You're a Republican who doesn't believe in God, who would vote for a bag of dog shit. You just said you're not a Christian. So you have faith?
Wait. Only Christians.
So you have faith in God. Okay, fine. You're not an acting Christian. Do you believe in God?
Yeah.
Okay. So do you actually practice, pray? Next to never. Okay. So you believe that there's God, you just choose. No, it's important because it's a part of the Republican platform. Don't you think Christianity just might be a little part of the pub?
But no. But how did you just say to me, you said, are you a Christian? I said, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
Therefore, your comment was you don't believe in God.
Well, because you're not an acting Christian. Listen, I'm not a Christian. Listen to me. Wait a second. Don't try to catch me in something just to argue because you haven't been able to really argue any point since you got here. I just said I retracted it and stepped back, didn't I? I just said, hold on, you're right. I'm stepping it back.
No, I didn't hear you say that.
Yeah, well, that's because you didn't listen. You were talking over me. You don't have to be a Christian to believe in God. I asked you if you're a Christian because that's predominantly with the Republican Party. Over 72% who believe in some form of organized religion are Christian in the Republican Party. You know that. I know that. So you're right. There are other religions and other denominations that are Republicans. I misspoke and I stepped that back.
Okay.
However, I'm not an active Christian either. I don't go to church. I don't necessarily pray, but it's interesting to me that you're a Republican, but your religious convictions aren't in alignment with most Republicans. So I have a series of questions. Where are you with pro-life versus pro-choice?
I'm right down the middle. I see both sides. I don't, in my opinion, valid cases can be made on both sides. And
yeah, that's not what I asked you. Where are you? Stop skirting around the issue. Pro-life, pro-choice. Which one? You're either one or the other. There is no middle ground unless you specifically give me details.
Pro-choice, okay, but I would not want it in my life and my family members.
Okay, that's a very consistent talking point with people who have no conviction on either side of that argument. So I will tell you that I believe in abortion and rape and incest and life of mother in 15 weeks. With the right to life plan is more than acceptable, and Democrats should accept it, but they don't. And I'm in line with the conservative values of that. I wish abortion wouldn't happen at all, but I'll take a 90% decrease in abortions, so we don't have 67 million killed in the next 30 years. Where are you in the Second Amendment?
I believe in it, but my understanding is the wording. It's a well-regulated militia.
So you're not a Republican in any way, shape, or form. So why do you think you're conservative?
So wait,
why do you think you're conservative? Why do you think you're a Republican?
Because I believe in small government. I believe that the government shouldn't dictate over everything in our lives. I believe in standing up for freedom. I believe in standing up for democracy. And when there's tyranny out there, whether it's Russia going into Ukraine or what Hamas just did, we kind of always fall on doing the side of doing the right thing. Sometimes it doesn't work out, but my intention is that the U.S. shit blows up in our faces often with foreign policy. But even when shit blows up in our face, it's not like we were doing things for the wrong reason. We were doing things for the right reason. And in hindsight, it was wrong, but it's not like we had nefarious intentions.
Okay, so that was very nice, and it could definitely segue us into many different conversations, but that's not what I asked you. The only thing you said that was a Republican value is limited government. But you contradicted yourself when you went ahead and said you want a regulated militia, which means who is to regulate the Second Amendment? Please answer me that. Who do you want to regulate the Second Amendment, since you are for big government to regulate the Second Amendment? Who should do that?
Congress. I mean, who
Okay,
who
great. So Congress, that's fine. So let me ask you a question. First Amendment, you know what the First Amendment is. You want to walk me through it? What's the First Amendment?
Freedom of speech.
Great. Freedom of speech. Against whom? Is that the freedom of speech of the government or the freedom of the people to speak, to petition, to assemble, press, religion? Who is that right for? Is it for the government or for the United States?
Yes. Everything.
No. It's not for the United States government. It's for the people. It's for the citizens, because the Bill of Rights
I'm sorry.
specifically.
Then I misunderstood you.
Okay.
For the people. Okay.
It's for the people. Great.
I didn't understand what you said.
That's fine. Amendment number 3, quartering of troops. Who is that for? Is that for the government or was that for the people?
Quartering of truth.
Troops. You know, when the English forced troops into American homes and told them that they would take over their land and they had to take care of the sick troops during the American Revolution. Quartering of troops says that the United States government cannot house troops of any kind, enemy or domestic, in your domicile and take over your domicile. So that's what the Third Amendment is. Do you believe that's for the government or the people?
For the people.
Great. Fourth Amendment. What do you think the Fourth Amendment is for? Who's Fourth Amendment for?
I don't need, look, I'm not going to pull
No. This is an exercise. You called my show. You want to have a conversation. I want to have a conversation with you. Fifth Amendment.
I don't, what
Fifth
is
Amendment.
the Fourth Amendment? I don't know which one it is.
So, okay. So not only are you not aware of what the amendments are, I'm going to go ahead and just skip to 10. 10th Amendment is the reserve power to the states. The United States government was not trusted by our founding fathers when they had the vision of creating it. And it was not a democracy. It was a republic with a representative democracy with the base that we elect. So it also shows me you're not a Republican because you don't even know what the name republic means because you called it a democracy.
I know we're
the bill of, semantics are important, but words have value. And the words that you skipped over in the Bill of Rights denounces that you also don't know what the Second Amendment is and you have no idea. You just went ahead and just chose well-regulated militia because you either haven't read it or you don't know it. One of the two, and that's fine. You don't have to. It's not a requirement. There's no test. But you don't get to make a decision like that and tell me you're a Republican when you only choose the section that supports your point. Well-regulated militia is not talking about a well-regulated body of people. It's saying, and I will quote, but first I want to tell you that the first 10 amendments are for the people, including the Second Amendment. So the founding fathers that just got done fighting an American Revolution and bloodletting American soil against a tyrannical government decided to go ahead and usurp the power that would stop us from being held by tyranny again with the right to bear arms and defend ourselves by giving the power of the government to regulate it. The other 9 amendments are free and unequivocal rights of the people against the government. And the Second Amendment gives the power of the government to regulate. That's where your argument stands. And it's not accurate. It's false. When we talk about the Second Amendment, it's really important because if you say you're a Republican, you should know these things. And I'm not sure why you don't.
Well, based on that definition, 95% of Republicans are not Republicans then.
That's not true. That's not true.
Really?
You're listening to the 3. Yeah, you're listening to the 3%.
Go to a MAGA rally.
Do you really believe that Trump supporters are Nazis? Do you believe this?
No.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
Do you believe that they're fascists?
All Nazis are Trump supporters.
That's
Not
probably
all.
a fair. No. That's probably a. I'm thinking about the statement. Not that you've stumped me. I'm actually thinking. I think that's a very fair statement that most white supremacists. I've heard it, but I don't know if I've actually. I've heard it, but I don't think I actually thought about it. I'm giving you that due respect. I would agree with you that white supremacists have moved towards the Republican Party and are an infinitesimal size compared to 1967 when 700,000 Klan members formed in Chicago for the Democrat Party. If your job is to malign us with white supremacists, you guys are going to be in line for a long fucking time because I don't believe you're a Republican. I think you're a closet libertarian with left leanings. That's what it sounds like to me.
Label me what you will.
It's not a label. It's a political ideology. I'm just trying to find out where you fall on the lines of politics.
I hear you. I'm just like I said, I don't want to dwell in the weeds.
All right, then let's move on.
For example, I'm not an attorney.
Well, the Constitution's important, brother, because I'm trying to identify. Okay, so it doesn't matter what political party you are. So you have a varying degree of opinions over a lifelong, experiential learning, and you've decided to shed political ideology and just be an amalgamation of all parties. You're pro-choice, great. You're anti-gun, right?
No,
do you own a gun?
Wait, no.
No. I'm asking. It's a question. Are you anti-gun?
I don't own a gun.
So what type of gun should be legal?
Again, I'm not a gun enthusiast, so I can't speak to the correct terminology.
Do you believe every American? Okay, when I do this, do you get weird feelings when I do this?
I don't get weird feelings, but Yeah, I've never fired.
When I do that, does that make you nervous when I do that? Do you not like that? Does that bother you? Does it make you feel like, holy shit, why does he have a gun?
If you were sitting in my living room, absolutely.
I'd never do it in your living room. I'm just trying to uncover, does it bother you? Because there's people like me who consider it a screwdriver. That's what a gun is to me. It's a tool.
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay. So are you anti-gun or not? Do you believe every American should have the right to own a gun?
Yes, but only certain types of guns.
Great. What type of guns?
Again, I don't know the terminology. A handgun.
Then why do you believe that?
A rifle. Why do I believe you should only be allowed?
That's fair. That's fair.
Because
so a rifle.
The Second Amendment says so.
Right. Brother,
I don't believe that the Second Amendment allows me to get a shoulder missile launcher.
Well, I don't either. Well, a tow missile would be nice, but alas, we can't have one. No,
well, do you agree that we shouldn't have one?
Well, it depends, because in that Second Amendment that you haven't read in a while, it specifically says that when it's talking about a well-regulated militia, it's talking about the militia that was responsible, that the United States went ahead and used to fight Britain, that it's very, very important to a free state. And because it's talking about state rights. So if you're going to fight a tank, it doesn't matter if you have a 9mm Glock, you're going to lose that fight. Do I believe I should have a shoulder-mounted missile? No. Do I believe I should have a harpoon missile? No. Do I believe I should have a fully automatic weapon? No, not unless I have a Class C. But you just said a rifle. So you believe that everyone should own an AR-15? Should be able to.
As I said before, I don't want to dwell. I don't know where the dividing line is.
The dividing line is simple, is that I'm trying to uncover what you believe so I can engage you in conversation. You're telling me that the Second Amendment should be limited. I asked you what, and you said to rifles. Well, then AR-15 is a rifle. An M1 is a rifle.
Not automatic rifles or semi-automatic
rifles.
Great.
Then you believe in the AR-15 because the AR-15 is a semi-automatic rifle.
No, I said not automatic or semi-automatic.
It's not automatic. I can pull that trigger as much as I want, and one round is going to come out of it. It's the same thing as your 22. It's a semi-automatic.
Matt, I've never fired a gun in my life. So
okay, then maybe you should, and you've never had an abortion either, yet you have an opinion on that.
But no, I'm not saying I don't have an opinion. I'm just saying I don't know.
You just have an uninformed opinion like the one you made of me when you came on. That's fair. Listen, Andy, I'm not trying to be a dick to you. I'm just telling you don't know what you're talking about, so let's not talk about it. Let's not take stances when we're not educated on the topic. You don't know anything about guns, therefore your opinion doesn't mean shit. I'm sorry. Just like I can't sit here and tell you about certain things and my opinion doesn't mean anything. Why can't we accept that? That maybe we don't know everything.
No. See, I'll be the first to admit in my life when I don't know about something, I'll be the first to raise my hand. Look, I was in sales my whole career. And
what did you do? What did you sell?
Enterprise software.
Nice. You made some money. Good.
There's some good years and some bad years, but I've been self-employed. But I've been self-employed for 20 years now. Okay. But as a salesperson, I thought one of my strengths was to establish credibility with prospects or clients. When I didn't know something, rather than try to bullshit them and look like an idiot, I'd be the first to acknowledge I'm not familiar with that topic. Okay. Explain that again. I'll go back. I'll talk to my guys that know that, and I'll get back to you with some information on that topic.
Fair enough.
I would not try to bullshit people.
Dude, the exact same words you just said I did on a show 2 nights ago when I was talking about intelligence. That's the number one thing you say in Intel. Sorry, I do not have the answer to that question. However, I will get back to you as soon as possible. It's something you learn early if you want your career to succeed. Let me just tell you this quickly. The next time you're in a conversation, you cannot have an automatic weapon in the United States of America without a Class C license, and it is a very difficult license to obtain. Every weapon is pretty much semi-automatic, minus a double-barrel shotgun, a bolt action, a blunderbuss, black powder. Those things are not semi-automatic. If you have to cock a shotgun each time, if you have to have an action in order for it to fire, that's a semi-automatic. An automatic is you hold down the trigger and pop, 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 bullets come out. Military have those. I used them all the time in the military. I've put 500,000 rounds downrange. A semi-automatic is everything. It's a Glock. It's a rifle. It's my dad's M1 over here, which means you pull the trigger and it goes. And you have to continue to pull the trigger each time for it to go. There is a very large difference. So when somebody asks you, and here's the problem that we have as Republicans, is that if you ban semi-automatic AR-15s, you then open up 98% of pretty much every other weapon on the planet has to be banned too. Because it's not the AR-15s. Those are only used in about 12% of the homicides in the United States. When you want to get into the 60 and 65% of the homicides in the United States, it's caused by two things. Handguns, number one, and suicide or accidental death are number two. Number three is felonies. Mass shootings don't even make the fucking top 10. So when they signify that the AR-15 is the most deadly weapon in the United States, a lot of us get pissed off because the AR-15 is not the most deadly weapon. The most deadly weapon is the person who wants to use the gun to harm others, not necessarily the gun. So as a Republican, I'm very surprised to hear you're not for the Second Amendment. Can I ask you one other question to qualify your stances? Just
Sure.
one.
Yep.
Do you believe Citizens United, which is that corporations have a voice based upon free speech through money and donations in politics, which means that they can give money to identify free speech and that they have the same rights that you and I do? Corporations like Starbucks, not necessarily the person in charge of Starbucks or the employees, but the entity of Starbucks has these rights associated with it, predominantly the freedom of speech, which is to give money to political candidates, campaigns, etc. Do you believe that that should be okay in the United States today?
If I understand your question correctly, no, I do not.
It's interesting because I'm a Republican. It's a Republican premise, and I don't believe in it either. So now we've found common ground. I think it should be revoked. Democrats have been calling for it to be repealed. The reason why we did it is because you guys were taking multi-billion-dollar fucking donations every time we had an election, and it was coming from big tech. So Republicans put motion in place to go ahead and have oil companies and big tobacco and gun companies to go ahead and donate the same type of money and giving all corporations speech. I think it's horrible. Money in politics sucks. So let's get back to Trump. You don't like Trump because he undercuts everything and undermines everything. Can you give me an example besides something as ambiguous as the press? Can we talk about his presidency? What do you feel he undermined while he was president?
While he was president,
Yeah. What policy in particular do you feel set back the United States from economics, civil rights, border security, crime, trade, whatever it is? What policies of Trump do you hate? Can't stand?
There weren't really, in terms of his policies, I am not against a lot of his policies. I am often against how he expresses them.
Sure.
For example, we need to control the border. The border situation is an outright joke currently.
Okay. Why is it a joke? Why do you think the border is a joke? Give me some reasons.
Why?
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it an open border, but it's a very porous border. Now,
tell me the difference between an open border and a porous border.
An open border, you can just waltz across and that's fine.
Okay.
Like the border between Virginia and North Carolina is an open border. You can walk down 95 you can walk down 95, but
you're in my neck of the woods. We need to have a drink and go. You're in my neck of the woods.
I'm using that because you said you're in Virginia.
Oh, damn it. I wish you were. I'd go out and have a drink and we could go fire some guns. Not in that order.
I got you. I'm north of you.
Well, we'll have a conversation. Listen, I think I've made fast friends with Democrats.
I'll give away where I reside.
Sure.
I live about 3 or 4 miles down the street from the fat, bloated orange man.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Upstate? Are you saying New York or Florida?
Neither.
Fat, bloated orange man. I'm referring to Trump. He resides in Florida and holds business in New York. I'm confused. Are you talking about Washington, D.C.? I'm lost.
You're having a complete brain fart.
I am. So I'm waiting for you to educate me.
Are
you talking about where he was born?
No. He's got his place in the city.
Yeah.
He's got Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah.
But where does he spend roughly half the year?
Golf course?
Begins with a B. The town begins with a B.
I have no idea. I don't know. I'm drawing a blank. So fill in the gaps.
You're going to be embarrassed when I tell you.
No, I'm not. I don't get embarrassed. I haven't been. There's things I haven't been right about a lot in my life. I'm drawing a blank. Go ahead.
Bedminster.
I have no idea. I have no idea. Yeah, it's shocking, right? I mean, holy fuck, this guy knows just about everything. I have no idea. Bedminster, I had no idea.
I'm shocked because you're a pretty sharp guy, clearly.
Do you know everything?
No, but that's not
what military academy did Donald Trump go to?
I forget, some like prep school while he was.
Name it. Name the academy. Well, I thought you were a pretty smart guy. Give me a fucking break, dude. I didn't know.
That's kind of an obscure fact.
No, it's not. I didn't know. Mar-a-Lago, dude. You think I idolize Donald? Listen, I don't idolize political candidates.
I don't think you idolize him whatsoever.
Oh, okay.
If I
Bedminster,
did,
I didn't know. I don't even know where the fuck Bedminster is. Where's Bedminster?
He spends roughly half.
Where is it? I don't even know where Bedminster is. Will you tell me? I want to know.
Bedminster, New Jersey.
Fuck, what? I had no idea. I didn't know.
Dude, every day when they show him on the news, he's in Bedminster. He's doing this in Bedminster.
I hear Mar-a-Lago. I hear D.C. I hear New York when he was up in New York. I hear that he's in Arizona. I hear that he's in fucking North Carolina. I didn't know Bedminster. Dude, I just didn't know. And a lot of people say that they don't know what you're talking about either.
I'm floored.
It doesn't matter. So Trump's from Bedminster. Fine. What policies? You said he undermines everything. You haven't been able to give me an example except for the media. And I believe the media is just as complicit as he is in the way they treat him as how he treats them. But it's interesting. Do you know an interesting stat? Donald Trump, by far, was the most open president ever in the United States. Did more interviews than any other president, had more press conference than any other president, had more accessibility than any other president, had more time on Air Force One with the press pool than any other president, but you find that he is anti-media.
When you're a narcissist, you like those. When you're a narcissist, you like those things.
Okay, so now he's a narcissist. Can you give me some examples of how you feel that his that his policies, that his overall legacy as president defined him as a narcissist?
Boy, we're really at a distance now because...
No, I didn't say he wasn't. I'm just asking you to give me examples.
Every little thing he says, just...
Give me one.
I'll give you one.
Give me one.
Okay. The what's going on in Israel right now, and he's been making comments on it. Forget that he said that Hezbollah is smart. Forget that
he didn't say Hezbollah. Hold on a second. Stop. Are you going to put that in context, or are you just going to say the one line?
No. I get it. I get it. I don't have an issue with calling Hezbollah smart because if you look at it in context, they're smart in an evil way, but that's still
right. So was Hitler. Hitler was one of the most greatest military minds in the world. He's a fucking psychopath.
I got you. I get you.
Okay, great.
But here,
so give me an example. How is he a narcissist? Because what he said was true. Hamas absolutely picked the right time, right place, and they fooled the Jews for 17 years. Holy shit, man. They did it right. That's smart. It doesn't mean it's not evil. But it's smart. Dude, I just want you to give me an example of how he is a narcissist.
He hammered Bibi, who I'm not a fan of.
Yeah. And why aren't you a fan of Netanyahu? You don't like Netanyahu? Why?
Why? Because I lived in Israel for 6 months. I have family in 6 months.
I lived in it in a year and a half. What part of Israel did you live in?
Ramat Aviv and Ra'anana.
Okay. Why were you there? With business or just family?
School.
Okay. All right. So you went to Israel. You've seen Israel. What years were this? I'm assuming that it was 90s.
It was pre-first Gulf War. So
a very different Israel than it is today.
It's been a long time, but I have family there that I talk to regularly.
Are you Jewish?
Yes.
Okay, so that explains the Christianity part. Thank you. Okay, so now we're starting to fill the gaps. So I would have reacted the exact same way you did. Now I get it. Okay, so apologize for that because I made an assumption. No, I went back to it. I made an assumption. All right, so you're Jew, have family in Israel. You've been to the motherland. You've been to and seen things that people don't know, but that still doesn't explain why you don't like Netanyahu.
the main reason what he's been doing, and again, I'm not that well spoken on Israeli
It's okay.
politics.
It's all right. It's all right. It's all right.
However, what he reminds me a little bit of Trump recently, in that just as Trump uses the MAGA base for his own purposes,
Yep.
Netanyahu is using the Hasidic community a lot. One thing that people don't realize, look, I'm sure you know this. Most Jews are secular. What percentage, yes. I don't know, but I don't know, 75%, 80%, something like that. All right. Then there's the Hasidic. Until 11 days ago, your typical secular Jew, while they didn't like the Arabs too much, you know who they despised more?
I don't know.
The Hasidic. Absolutely. Not even a comparison. Okay. Yes, right now the country's unified and everything. But the Hasidic are...
There's been civil protests for quite a long time. I am aware of this. I understand. I know the dissension. And here's the thing with the Jews, as you know, if that they don't have an enemy to fight, they fight amongst each other. I mean, this is the truth. Come on, 3,000 years, bro. There's a lot of history there.
Secular Jews have a reason to have a bone to pick with the Hasidic. They don't serve in the army. They sell off their seats in the Knesset to the highest bidder.
That's correct.
They have no clue what's even going on in the world. All they give a shit about is studying Torah all day. That's nice. I'm not saying they don't have a right to do that, but they don't contribute anything else to society.
Well, I think that's a little bit of a...
Okay,
that's a little.
They don't.
I know you're Jewish, man, but that's pretty fucking. that's pretty fucking out there.
I'm in New Jersey. When I drive through Lakewood, New Jersey, you're probably not familiar with Lakewood, New Jersey.
Listen, whenever I can stay out of New Jersey, I do.
Don't get me started, because New Jersey's it's an expensive state, but if you can afford it, it's a terrific state to live in.
I live in the most expensive fucking county in the country. I can afford it.
Loudoun or Fairfax?
Ashburn. And so it's one of the highest rated for crime, one of the best schools, and it's also one of the most fucking expensive in the United States. So I get it.
I'm in North Jersey. I'm right up there with you. Okay, I'm down
that's great. I'm not here to measure dicks. I'm not here to do that. I'm not in my mom's basement. And don't let the tattoos and the hat fool you. Go ahead. It's okay.
Lakewood, New Jersey is a Hasidic community.
Yep.
Used to be African American and Hispanic, and the last 20, 25 years, it's been overrun with the Hasidic. All right. Look, someone could jokingly call me anti-Semitic, I suppose.
Well, I'm just saying you're also a person who's a Republican that doesn't believe in pro-life and guns. So it doesn't shock me at all that you have anti-Semitic tropes when it comes to your beliefs about Jews. But you're Jewish. You get to do that. Wait a second. The only people who can be anti-Semitic, in my opinion, are Jews. There are plenty of Jews that don't like other Jews. There's plenty of sex. Listen, Israel is complicated. And anyone who's been over there understands that it is not as simplistic as the United States is, where even though we might have political ideologies that are different, there are 3,000 years of history amongst people and different sects and different communities, and even the way they plot their overall country and how different areas believe in different things. I get what you're saying. I'm not disagreeing with anything you're saying. And I think Netanyahu definitely plays to his base. There's no doubt in my mind. But how is that any different than the United States? I want to know specifically what Netanyahu has done to Israel that bothers you, that you feel makes him a narcissist and it's all about him.
I didn't call Netanyahu a narcissist. I called Trump a narcissist.
You said he uses his followers just like Trump does. And I said, well, give me some examples.
Trump,
okay, so why don't you like Netanyahu?
Because he is buddied up with the Hasidic. Okay. People that I don't think he has that much in common with. He's just buddy with them now for political purposes.
Okay.
Just kind
do you
of
blame him for the attack? Do you believe it was an intelligence failure? Do you blame him for the attack? Do you believe he should have kept his guard up? That he got too cozy with the Arab states? That he was followed the United States lead? He followed what the Sauds wanted, which was to bring Palestine bring Palestine into Israel, to bring the work furlough programs, the work permits, to try to go ahead and rehab Gaza and then ultimately West Bank. Do you believe he should have seen this coming? Do you believe it's his fault?
The one main reason I think it's his fault, which is not talked about in the media whatsoever, from what I've heard,
yeah,
is that he took, again, this is my relatives telling me this, but they live there, they know.
Sure. Well, they have a viewpoint.
I don't know what percentage, but he moved a number of battalions or brigades or troops or whatever, not for nefarious reasons. I'm not going to imply that this was allowed to happen, as some have made cockamamie conspiracy.
Well, pretty much everyone on the left is saying. Let's be honest. I mean, this is the left narrative that Palestine is a holistic state that deserves to be recognized as a sovereign country, which it's not. And as a Jew, you know that.
No, what I'm saying is no. There's people, frankly, on the right. And probably on the far left.
Oh, yeah.
Too.
Oh, fuck yeah. Oh, I know. They're both sides. They're both sides. Oh,
that Netanyahu wanted this to happen.
Oh, of course. Oh, yeah. All the cures and the conspiracy fuckos are it's on the both. Yes, it's absurd. Yes, it is.
Right.
All right. So let's get off foreign policy. I just want to find out about Trump. Okay. You said he was a narcissist. I want to get back to this. I still have not heard one thing that shows me that he is a narcissist. I almost kind of want to pull up the definition of narcissism and read it to you and see truly if you agree with your statement that he's a narcissist. Because I don't know if you understand this, but everyone has narcissistic tendencies. Everybody. There's nobody on the planet who isn't narcissist in some way. He is the president of the fucking United States. He is the one of a handful, 46, that have held that title. Narcissism kind of comes with the position, but give me the narcissism. Where is it in his policy that you find he's undercutting? Give me something.
We're all over the map here.
No, we're not.
Yeah, we are.
No, we're not. I've asked the same question for 20 fucking minutes. Why is he a narcissist?
Well, getting back to what I was going to say before, because I brought up the whole calling Hezbollah smart, which is not being narcissist, and I agree. Trump is getting hammered for that unfairly.
Great. What a cool thing to say. Good for you. Seriously.
Bringing up criticizing Netanyahu right now it's not the best of timing. But what does he criticize him for? He called Biden to congratulate him he won.
Yeah, he's a petty individual, Donald Trump. He's petty. Not a narcissist, but he's petty.
That's also narcissist.
No, dude, everything's narcissist. If you look at sociology and you look at psychology, and what did you major in? Were you at college by chance?
Communications undergrad, I have my MBA in marketing.
You're pretty well, you and I kind of cut our teeth in the same area. Communications, you're fantastic at it. I don't necessarily agree with the things you say, but you do say it well, and that's important. So here's the thing. When you call him a narcissist, and I want to get you off of this, you're saying that Donald Trump has a personality disorder, a clinical diagnosed personality disorder. What qualifications do you possess to make that diagnosis? Okay, so butt kiss. It's a common trope from the left that they call him a narcissist, okay? But they don't even know what narcissism is. They truly don't know. And have you ever lived with a narcissist, Andy? Okay, my mother was a narcissist, diagnosed personality disorder. My mom was absolutely insane. Donald Trump, I've seen him personally outside of the media circle. And I'm telling you, man, I know for a fact, if you sat down and had a conversation with him, you would actually like him. The guy that's on the national stage is not the same guy behind the scenes.
I don't doubt that. I don't have any difficulty seeing him at a dinner table being very charming and personable. I can see that.
Okay.
I used to go I used to go to New Jersey General games in high school. Do you know who the
Okay.
New Jersey Generals were?
No, but don't get mad at me because I don't know Bedminster either.
Do you follow football?
I do follow football quite a bit. Hockey, football, soccer, name it.
Do you remember the USFL? I'm probably a few years older.
I do remember the USFL. Yes, sir. That's what I thought your logo was at first, the hat, is I thought it was USFL because I could only see the stripes. But yes, I do remember the US. I see it now. Now I know it's the national team. You're a big Megan Rapinoe fan, huh? Anyway, don't get me started. Don't. We're not going there. I don't want to talk about her. But no, USFL, go ahead.
Hold on. I just got to close. Hold on one second.
Take your time. You know what? I'm going to go get coffee. Hold on. Holy shit. Hold on. I'm going to get coffee. Hold on.
Dogs are going bonkers. I got to cut you off. Hey, the dogs are barking. I got to let them out. And I actually have to go tend to some business.
Okay, USFL, go ahead.
Oh, I was just telling you, I got to run because the dogs.
Oh, you got to go? Okay. Well,
but
listen.
Real quick, Trump
Yeah.
Trump owned the New Jersey USFL team.
Correct. Okay.
I got to run. I enjoyed the conversation. I will definitely call in again.
You should, Andy. Thanks for talking with me, Bubba. We'll talk to you soon.
My pleasure. Have a great one.
Yeah. All right. Good one. Thanks, buddy.
Bye-bye.
So I got to say, out of all the conversations I've had online, here's what I'll say. I don't like to talk about people after they leave the show. I hope he's watching, because people leave conversations like this because they've gotten what they wanted to say out. And we were just about to get to a spot where we could have started uncovering his true feelings about Trump. It comes down to this. And if Andy was here, I would tell him. Andy doesn't like Donald Trump because he doesn't know anything about him. Andy doesn't like his policies because he doesn't know any. And Andy doesn't know what he is. Andy is disenfranchised. He doesn't follow politics to the extent that he should. And he wanted to call in and basically browbeat a Trumpite, MAGA, because the only truth we got out of Andy was his first couple sentences. That he thinks that I'm an ignorant MAGA Trump supporter, and then completely misjudged me and said, fuck, now what? That's what this is about. This has everything to do with that. And once he uncovered that I wasn't a MAGA Trump supporter who is a fascist neo-Nazi, he's kind of like, well, damn, now what? And then when I started demonstrating that I knew more about the things that he was talking about than he did, minus Bedminster. Really? Jersey? I had no fucking clue. No clue. Shows you how much I follow Trump outside. When he's on vacation, I don't care. I don't follow him. I don't know. Bedminster. Andy is a smart guy. I would love to have a conversation with him. I'm disappointed the conversation's over because I thought we could have gotten to a place with common ground. And I know I could not, that's not I think, I know I could not have helped him come around to Donald Trump because I'm not even there yet. I'm not even 100. Now, I know if it's Donald Trump versus a Democrat, like he said, a bag of shit, he knows who he's going to vote for. He's going to vote for a bag of shit. I'm on the other hand. You have a bag of shit and you have Donald Trump. I'm voting for Donald Trump. But it would be like, let's just go ahead and say Harold Ford Jr. If Harold Ford Jr. decided to run on the Democrat ticket as president of the United States, I would have, I don't know what I would do. I have no fucking idea what I would do. Because I think Harold Ford Jr. is one of the smartest liberals. Screw that Democrat. He's a blue collar Democrat. He's a blue dog. He's a Reagan Democrat. That I would probably vote for him over Donald Trump. Can't believe I just said that. But I think Harold Ford Jr. is what we need to bring this country together. He is a guy who can sit at a table with the five and bring them and talk them. I mean, he talks the judge down and calms her fucking down. And she's not one that can be calmed down. She is a bulldog. He calms Jesse down. He's well respected and well liked at the table, and he usually brings the sensible point of view. I think Andy suffers from what most people in this country suffer, is Trump derangement syndrome. And it's not that Andy's deranged, it's that he has been told that everything that's wrong with America is Trump's fault. And his accusations of playing the media as victims baffles me. Like, I'm just like, dude, how you're a Republican and you like the media? I don't think Andy's a Republican. I don't think Andy's voted for a Republican ever in his life. I would be shocked. He probably voted for Reagan. And that's probably the last, maybe Bush Sr., maybe Jr., but that's the last Republican that Andy has voted for. I believe that he is very liberal. He doesn't know anything about the things that he doesn't like. I believe that he tried to call in and judge me, but I got to give him ultimate props here is that he had the balls to call in. He had the balls to call in. And to me, that earns him a right to say what he wants. I let him talk. I challenged him when he was wrong. I think he should never talk about the Second Amendment again. I think he should never talk about guns again. I think he should never talk about abortion again. I think he should focus on, I just don't like Trump, and I can't excuse his behavior because his policies are good. And that statement, I think a lot of Americans, even Trump supporters, can understand. He hung in there. I thought the Bedminster, New Jersey was bullshit. I don't think anyone, did anyone know that? I didn't know that. People see, here's the problem with debate, is I'm not debating him. I am uncovering what he thinks. And I'm asking questions. And man, people hate that shit. They just want to get their talking points out. Okay, so a couple people did, most people didn't know. Carrie makes a good point. Carrie says, Mike Blankman, your baiting tactics are too obvious. They are. They're pretty obvious, Mike. I'm not going to lie. You don't give any doubt about where you stand right away in a conversation. And what's great about Andy is that all I had to do was plead my case with conviction to him. And he's like, oh, well, I've made a mistake. And I think it's great. We both made some mistakes. I assumed he was Christian and he's a Jew. What a stupid thing to assume. I know better than that. Republicans aren't all Christian. What a stupid, honestly, what a stupid thing to say. And I can admit that. But the problem is that people think that we're in a debate. We're not in a debate. I'm not debating you. A debate is set parameters where you make a point and then I make a point, or I counteract your point. And that would mean that I would have to be diametrically opposed to everything you say. And I'm not. And I refuse to be. I don't think he's a practicing Jew. No. But even if he is, who cares? He's Jewish. He's not Christian. But that is the interesting point, is that in a debate, every single thing you say has to be diametrically opposed. That's why the presidential debates are full of shit. Because you will never hear anyone say who's not a Republican, you know what? Joe Biden made a great point there, and I happen to agree with everything he said. And I will double down on what he said when I'm president of the United States. They don't do that. Debates are no longer an exchange of ideas. They are trying to prove someone wrong. And that is not what debates are. Lorraine Phillips says, and who are you? What an inane question, Lorraine. Who are you? Who are any of us? From an existential standpoint, from transcending the depths of universal contemplation by set by one's paradox, from a spiritual sense, from a metaphysical sense, who are any of us? What type of question is that? You're on my channel. You're the type of person that calls my house, and I'm like, this is Matt, hello. And they're like, who is, or I say, hello. And they're like, who is this? Who the fuck are you? You're calling me. So Lorraine, who are you? I'm fucking Batman. That's who I am. You missed the best comment from Carrie about me, read by Matt. It was hilarious. I don't know what it was. We are just another brick in the wall. Wow. I think I've read that somewhere. Are we a floating ship lost on the horizon? I stand by he hates Trump because the media told him to. I'm not going to bust anyone down. Lorraine left. Go surprise. Big surprise. All right, everybody. I appreciate the show. Here we go. Sum it up. Biden's going to Israel. My prediction, something's going to happen to draw attention to him. Just to make him seem like he is in the know or braver than he actually is. Maybe it's a siren. Maybe the Iron Dome goes off above him. Maybe he's making a speech and Secret Service pull him out. But optically, this is the price for Netanyahu to get Biden to come to his country. Is there something that, listen, if you think these guys don't trade political ponies, you're insane. They absolutely do. They absolutely trade ponies. Do I believe that we should be sending corpsmen, medical, admin to Israel? No. Because if anyone, here's the thing I will say. Here's what I'll say. If you think they send troops in first, you're wrong. Admin, medical, infrastructure, those things go into place for forward operating bases, to establish a chain of command and control. Supply chain goes in, communications goes in, operations goes in, logistics goes in, clerical go in. So when you move in a military, all these things need to be in place before you put 10,000, 15,000 troops on the ground. And the reason why is because support, it takes 3 support personnel for 1 combat soldier, Marine, etc. So when people are like, oh, it's just admin and medical, I'm like, duh, that's phase 1. So it's not as, that's just a talking point. It's just as serious. And just like moving a carrier into the med, if you believe that you don't have 1,000 Marines on that ship, you're wrong. And if you don't think that you've got another 1,000 Marines in the Gulf, you're also wrong. If you think that 2,000 troops could not be in Israel in a blink, you're wrong. If you think that you don't have Army and Marine Corps on standby, you're wrong. So when people say Biden going in Israel and putting troops on the ground ain't no big deal, I'm here to tell you it is. And the fact that you have SEAL teams and you have unit and DevGru, in other words, SEAL Team 6, which is not SEAL Team 6. Anybody calls it SEAL Team 6, I don't know what the fuck they're talking about. That's the media, okay, guys? Nobody calls them SEAL Team 6. Nobody. That's the thing of the past. DevGru, development group. And the unit, nobody calls them Delta, but let's call them the unit, are in country. There's a reason why special forces are in. Special forces specifically are designed for not hostage negotiation, but hostage recovery. They're very, very prolific at it. SEALs are also good for other things. Aquatic type hostage situations, vessel takeover, platform takeover. Delta is very much airport driven, getting into confined spaces. Systematic elimination of hostiles and tangos to save people. They are very good at their job. Both teams are. And although that's only a couple of things in their mission priority, there's the specific reason their mission to go over there is hostage recovery. The United States is now in this. Whatever happens after this, the United States is now involved. Iran is saying they will, they won't. You've got defense ministers saying they will. You got the Ayatollah saying no. You got the clerics saying yes. You've got Syria saying maybe. You got Lebanon that's like, we'll fire some rockets in there. We're coming in if you put troops on the ground. It's so mishmash right now. There are so many avenues of miscommunication that it comes down to this. This is bad. Mike, I'm aware of the monikers for Delta. Thank you. So this is what we need to do. We need to wait. We need to watch. And we will uncover where we're at in the next 7 to 10 days. But this is not going to be a conflict that's over overnight. Vietnam is also a very small space. And the integrated tunnels that they have and the supply that they put in place, the Viet Cong were extremely difficult because we could not find them. And we were at a disadvantage. Hamas is underground. They are in tunnels. They have learned from the Viet Cong, even though they didn't learn from the Viet Cong. They understand is that they've had Chinese influence. They've had Iranian influence. They understand the lessons of war. The relationship between communists and terrorists is actually, surprisingly enough, not that far apart. They understand the way to run guerrilla warfare. Just like Afghanis use the cave systems, ISIS, Al-Qaeda use the cave system, these guys are using underground tunnels like the Viet Cong. It's going to take a while to get them out. The teams and Delta over there are also responsible for coordination and training. There's no doubt in my mind. You've got 300,000 reservists called up. Not all of these people are battle ready. There's going to be a run-up period before this where command feels good enough to send in ground troops with the least amount of casualties possible based upon what's waiting for them from a defensive standpoint. And you know that a lot of these entry points are going to be booby-trapped. You're going to have IEDs. You're going to have ground mines. You're going to have grenades behind doors. Hamas is a lot of things. Stupid isn't one of them. So we're going to have to wait and see. But phase one of the plan isn't launch 4,000 rockets into Israel and then simply walk away and call it good. There was a secondary phase of this, which was fairly sure that Hamas knew that Israel was going to come in. And if you think they haven't planned for that, if you think they're not prepared for that, you're extremely naive. So let's see what happens. All right, folks, thanks for watching. We're not on live tonight. We will not be a recorded show tonight. I am going to go play Diablo because the patch 2 came out. Have a good night. Thanks for watching the Don't Unfriend Me Show. Stop by the Don't Unfriend Me Show at thedumbshow.com. Pick yourself up a hat, a shirt, something fun. Go pick up something nice for yourself. I want to say thank you to Andy for coming on. I appreciate it. Nice enough guy. Wouldn't mind talking to him. I'm going to reach out to Mike, and we'll get him on the show hopefully Thursday. Thanks for watching. God bless, and have a great night, everybody. We will see you next time.